After being diagnosed with terminal cancer, the first thing I did was have my lawyer bring over the divorce papers. We've been married for 5 years, but her heart has always belonged to someone else. I've been hospitalized for half a month, coughing up blood, yet my wife, a doctor, works in this very hospital and hasn't visited me even once. Inside the hospital room, the smell of disinfectant is suffocating. I lean against the headboard, my face is probably paler than the walls. Across from me, Mr. Zhang the lawyer adjusts his glasses and pulls a document from his briefcase. But he hesitates to hand it over. "Mr. Yang," he says, "divorce requires signatures from both parties, followed by a 30-day cooling-off period. Given your current physical condition, I really don't recommend you go through with this." "I've already made up my mind," I cut him off. My voice is a bit raspy, but very firm. "I will get her to sign it." Mr. Zhang starts to say something else, but eventually swallows his words. He stands up, gently places the divorce agreement on the bedside table, and says, "Please take care of yourself." The hospital door closes softly, leaving me alone once again. 30 days. I repeat the number in my mind. I have to hang on. Suddenly, a violent, churning pain twists in my stomach. The familiar agony strikes again, and I lunge forward, grabbing the trash can by the bed, and fall into another violent fit of coughing. Then, I vomit a large mouthful of dark red blood, and my vision goes black for a moment. After a long while, that sharp, piercing pain slowly begins to subside, leaving me feeling hollow and weak. The air in the room is thick enough to choke me. I struggle to lift myself up, wanting to go downstairs for a breath of fresh air. Just as I reach the lobby, I collide head-on with someone in a white lab coat rushing by. "Xiao Yu?" A familiar voice rings out, filled with surprise. "What are you doing at the hospital?" I look up, meeting Zhou Zixuan's beautiful eyes. She is wearing a well-fitted white coat, her hair tied back perfectly, revealing her smooth forehead. Her delicate face is now full of confusion. "Look, how ironic. I've been hospitalized in this very place for almost half a month. And my own wife, Zhou Zixuan, hasn't the slightest clue that I'm here. Even though this is the hospital where she works. A spot in my heart feels like it's been pricked by a fine needle. A subtle, stinging pain, but I don't blame her. In our 5 years of marriage, when has she ever truly cared about me? Never mind. Anyway, I'm dying soon. There's no point in holding her back. It's not like she ever loved me to begin with." I pull at the corner of my lips, trying to make my smile look natural. "Just here for a checkup, and to get some paperwork sorted for my stay. So it's easier to handle the insurance." My voice is so calm it even surprises me. Zhou Zixuan nods, and true to form, she doesn't ask any further questions. She shifts her feet, looking like she's ready to leave. Not even a single word of concern. I laugh at myself, mocking my own expectations. But as we brush past each other, I can't help but call out to her. "By the way, about the transfer of the house. The final step is for you to sign it." I pulled the divorce agreement out of the folder I was carrying. I intentionally used my hand to cover the title on the cover and flipped directly to the signature line on the last page. I handed it to her along with a pen. Zhou Zixuan took it. She raised an eyebrow sharply. Years of professional habit made her extra sensitive to documents. Instinctively, she reached to flip back and see the contents, but just as her fingertips were about to touch the previous page, a tall figure happened to walk in through the hospital entrance, entering her peripheral vision. It was Sun Saiyu. Zhou Zixuan froze. Her gaze drifted toward him uncontrollably. She hesitated for less than a second. Then she pulled her eyes away and quickly signed her name at the end of the agreement. She shoved the document and pen back into my hands all at once. "There, that's done. If there's nothing else, you should head back. I have a consultation. I'm busy," she added, her tone carrying her usual impatience. With that, she didn't even look at me again. She turned and walked briskly towards Sun Saiyu. In that moment she turned. I saw the smile bloom on her face, vibrant and vivid. It was a look I had never seen in 5 years of marriage. My heart, which had been hanging in suspense, finally plummeted. But what followed was an even more overwhelming, stinging pain. It tightened around my heart instantly. Not far away, they stood together. Sun Saiyu was tall and handsome, and Zhou Zixuan was bright and stunning. Truly, a perfect match. I turned my head, not wanting to watch anymore, and dragged my heavy feet toward the elevator. Just as I reached the elevator bank, I faintly heard their laughter drifting down the hallway. "Zixuan, was that your patient?" came Sun Saiyu's clear, bright voice. "Just an old patient, back for a follow-up." Zhou Zixuan's voice was so tender it could melt, a complete contrast to the coldness she used with me just moments ago. "Saiyu, wait for me a moment. I need to hand over a few patient cases to my colleague. I'll be right back. Remember, I promised to take you to the movies today." Her voice was filled with impatient, eager excitement. I clutched the now effective divorce agreement, the edge of the paper digging into my palm, causing a sharp sting. Thinking back on all the little moments from these past 5 years, I couldn't help but let a miserable smile pull at the corners of my mouth. I really did come in for a follow-up. The result of that checkup was, I only have 1 month left to live. Almost there, Zhou Zixuan. Don't be impatient. Very soon, I will be able to return your freedom to you completely. Back home, I set down the pile of medication from the hospital and began to slowly pack up my belongings from our marriage. Bits and pieces. There was actually quite a lot. I planned to clear it all out. I don't want to leave anything behind that would be an eyesore to her after I'm gone. Perhaps my body really had reached its limit after packing for just a short while. I was already gasping for air and had to stop to catch my breath. I went back to the bedroom to lie down for a moment, and my eyes fell instantly on that giant wedding photo hanging above the bed. In the photo, Zhou Zixuan is wearing a pure white wedding dress. But her smile looks somewhat stiff and distant. My past self had been blinded by love. I used to think that smile was incredibly sweet, but looking at it now, it's just blindingly painful. Without a moment's hesitation, I stepped on a chair and took it down. I shoved it into the deepest corner under the bed, out of sight. And maybe, just maybe, my heart will stop aching so much. For the rest of the day, I was stuck in a cycle of cleaning, resting, and cleaning again. At midnight, I heard the sound of keys turning in the lock. Zhou Zixuan was home. I was in the study organizing some old books and files. She poked her head in to look at me, said nothing at all, just placed the takeout bag she was holding onto the desk and then turned and went straight into the bedroom. She must have noticed the empty space on the wall while changing her clothes. Not even 2 minutes later, she came back, leaned against the doorframe of the study, and frowned as she asked me, "What happened to the wedding photo in the bedroom?" I looked up and met her eyes calmly. The frame was getting loose, and I was worried it might fall and hurt someone. So I took it down. I've already ordered a new frame from a shop. It hasn't arrived yet. She accepted this explanation, her face showing no real expression. Just before leaving, as if she suddenly remembered, she added, "I brought you some late-night snacks. They're on the table. Get some sleep early." Late-night snacks? It hit me late as I stood up and opened the bag printed with a certain Sichuan restaurant's logo. A strong, spicy scent hit me instantly. It was boiled beef in chili sauce. I stared silently at that bowl of red oil and heavy spices. My stomach seemed to start cramping, yet my eyes inexplicably felt hot and stinging. We've been married for 5 years, and my stomach has always been delicate. I've never dared to touch spicy, irritating food. This is something she knows perfectly well. Yet, even with something so basic, Zhou Zixuan has never once taken it to heart. In the past, even if just to avoid dismissing her gesture, or to keep her happy, I would have forced myself to eat it. But now, my body is already falling apart. I can't handle any more suffering. I picked up the bag, went downstairs, and threw it straight into the trash can without opening it. Then I went back home and cooked myself a small bowl of bland rice porridge. From today on, I won't wrong myself for Zhou Zixuan ever again. 5 years. I lived for her for 5 years. This final month, I think it's time I lived for myself for once. After finishing the porridge, my stomach felt a bit more comfortable. It was already very late. And remembering the doctor's warning not to stay up late, I went to the bedroom to get some rest. Zhou Zixuan had already finished showering and was lying on her side, back to me, on the other edge of the bed. Her breathing was steady, as if she were already asleep. On every other night, whenever we shared a bed, I would habitually reach out and gently wrap my arms around her from behind. She never resisted, but she also never turned around to return my embrace. But tonight, I didn't move. I also faced away from her, with an invisible chasm separating us in the middle. After about a few minutes, Zhou Zixuan's voice came from behind me, filled with a hint of confusion. "It's so quiet tonight, the silence is deafening. I'm not hugging you tonight." My body tensed up slightly, and I quickly made up an excuse. "I'm a bit tired, let's just sleep." She let out a small sound of acknowledgement and didn't say anything else. I heard a faint rustling behind me. She must have turned over again. I thought the night would pass by peacefully like this, but not long after. Zhou Zixuan suddenly flicked the bedside lamp on with a sharp click and sat up. "Oh, right," she said, rubbing her eyes. Her tone was lazy with sleep. "That contract you asked me to sign today. Let me take another look at the terms. I don't want any mistakes." The contract. My entire body stiffened instantly. My heart began to race, thumping so hard it felt like it was going to burst out of my chest. "You really want to look?" I turned over to look at her. In the dim light of the bedroom, her face looked a bit blurred. I couldn't help but feel a wave of tension. It wasn't that I was afraid she'd disagree with the divorce once she found out. At this point, I knew better than anyone. The divorce was probably a relief for her. It's just that this fake property contract. It felt like the last pathetic fig leaf covering the end of our marriage. I didn't want it to be torn away right in front of me. "What's wrong?" She seemed to sense something strange in my tone and arched her eyebrows slightly. "It's nothing. Since it's come to this, there's no point in hiding." I pulled back the covers and got out of bed. I walked to the study and picked up that divorce agreement. I walked back into the bedroom and handed it to her. The cold paper brushed against her fingertips as she took it. Her fingers gripped the cover and she was about to open it. Just at that moment, her phone on the nightstand suddenly lit up and a frantic ringtone shattered the silence of the room. Almost as a reflex, Zhou Zixuan glanced at the caller ID. The next second, she tossed that unopened agreement aside and snatched up her phone. She answered the call with a sense of concern and softness I had never heard before. "It's so late. Why are you calling me all of a sudden?" It was noisy on the other end of the line. I could faintly hear music and a blurry male voice. "Sister Zixuan, I feel terrible. I've had too much to drink and can't get back. Can you come keep me company?" It was Sun Saiyu's voice. Even through the distorted speaker, I recognized it immediately. Zhou Zixuan's expression didn't change much under the lamplight, but she shot me a quick glance, a flicker of hard-to-detect panic in her eyes. Then, without a second's hesitation, she spoke into the mic. "All right, send me the address. Stay where you are. Don't move. I'm coming right now." She hung up and Zhou Zixuan threw off the covers, got up and started putting on her coat, completely forgetting about the divorce agreement. I sat on the edge of the bed, watching her hurried movements. My chest felt so tight and anxious that, in the end, I couldn't hold back. Just as she was about to leave, I spoke up and asked, "It's so late, who's looking for you? Where are you going?" Zhou Zixuan paused while putting on her shoes. Without turning back, her voice sounded a bit strained. "It's Director Liu from the hospital. A critical patient I'm in charge of had a sudden turn for the worse, so I have to go check on them right now. I might not be back tonight, so don't worry about leaving the door unlocked for me. Get some sleep early." After saying that, she pulled the door open. Her figure quickly vanished outside, and the room instantly fell into a dead silence. Only the sound of my increasingly heavy breathing remained. Suddenly, I started to laugh. I laughed in a low, quiet voice, and as I laughed, tears rolled down without warning, burning my cheeks painfully. I wiped my face with a bitter laugh and picked up the divorce agreement that had been abandoned on the bed. I gently smoothed out the creases. Honestly, it was just a moment away. Just a second away. If she had only flipped to the first page and seen the 4 big characters divorce agreement, everything would have been laid out in the open. But she didn't care. That night, I locked the bedroom door from the inside and lay on the bed. I kept my eyes open until dawn broke, lying there until I simply couldn't lie there anymore. I finally got up to continue packing the things I hadn't finished organizing. After we got married, I was full of passion and hope. And I bought countless couple items. Each one embodied my dreams for our home and our most naive fantasies. But Zhou Zixuan always found all sorts of reasons, and never used a single one of them. Those objects, filled with silly affection, just gathered dust in the corner, becoming ironic props in my one-man show. Now, I'm not attached to them anymore. I scheduled a pickup service on a second-hand app to get rid of all these things. While waiting for the person to arrive, I scrolled through my phone and by some strange impulse, I logged into that secondary WeChat account I almost never use. It was something I registered a long time ago. For some unimportant survey, I had almost forgotten it myself. I refreshed the Moments feed and a new post caught my eye instantly. Posted by Zhou Zixuan just 10 minutes ago. The content was a photo, taken from what looked like the floor-to-ceiling window of a hotel room. The morning light was just peeking through, and the sky was dyed a gentle orangey pink. The caption was simple: "God makes you wait, so that you can meet the right person." Happiness in this moment. I was stunned, my fingers frozen on the screen. A few seconds later, I quickly switched back to my main WeChat account. I clicked on Zhou Zixuan's Moments, and there was still that cold, horizontal line. With the notice that she only shares her last 3 days of Moments, it was completely blank. It turns out, when she posted that, she had forgotten to hide it from this secondary account of mine. A sense of crushing absurdity and sharp pain hit me at the same time. I tried to pull at the corners of my mouth, but realized I couldn't even manage a self-deprecating smile. In this moment, I finally realized with absolute clarity that in Zhou Zixuan's world, I was never the right person for you. Never. Since that's the case, why should I keep holding on? I'd rather leave on my own terms than be a nuisance. At least this way, we can preserve the last, fragile shred of our dignity. The second-hand buyer finally arrived, and I headed downstairs carrying a big box of our old couple's items. After handing it over, I was about to turn and head back upstairs, when I unexpectedly ran into Zhou Zixuan coming home. She looked at me, and then down at the box on the ground that hadn't been sealed yet, her gaze lingering for a moment on a few eye-catching items inside. "Aren't these things from our place?" she blurted out. My hands tightened around the box, but I did my best to keep my tone calm. "They've been here too long. They're a bit outdated and just taking up space. I just called someone to clear them out. During this time, I'll slowly pick out some new things to replace them." Thinking of that post on her social media, the one hidden only from me, I felt another sharp pang of pain, but I couldn't let it show on my face at all. Oh, okay. Zhou Zixuan nodded, not asking anything further, and walked straight past me, heading upstairs first. I stood there, watching her figure disappear into the stairwell, as the corner of my mouth slowly curled into a cold, self-deprecating smile. Zhou Zixuan is such a smart person. If she had put in even the slightest effort, how could she not have noticed the unusual shifts in my mood lately? Or the changes in my behavior? But she didn't. She never did. But it doesn't matter anymore. Very soon, I will disappear from her world completely. Zhou Zixuan came home right now, because she had left the treatment plan documents for an important patient back at the house. She came back to get them. When I walked through the door, she was buried in work, searching through the study. We didn't exchange a word. The air was so quiet, all I could hear was the rustling of paper. My body was failing me more and more. Just moving that box downstairs was enough to feel like I'd used up every ounce of strength. I slumped onto the sofa, finding it difficult just to breathe. Suddenly, a notification chime rang out. That's when I noticed Zhou Zixuan's phone was sitting on the living room coffee table. The screen lit up with a new message, and my eyes drifted over it involuntarily. It was a WeChat preview. Dr. Zhou, our department is having a dinner tonight. You absolutely have to bring your boyfriend along. Everyone is waiting to see him. Boyfriend? I furrowed my brow, and the tiny spark of hope I had left inside felt like it had been doused with cold water, hissing into nothing but white smoke. I wanted to pretend I hadn't seen it, but as I looked up, I caught Zhou Zixuan's eyes just as she was walking out of the study with the documents. She clearly saw the lit-up screen too. A flash of awkwardness and panic crossed her face, like she'd been caught red-handed. That, she started, her mouth opening, as if she wanted to explain but didn't know where to begin. Looking at her looking so conflicted, all that ridiculous pride and anticipation I had left inside suddenly sank to rock bottom. I forced a smile that must have looked terrible and spoke up first. So, are you planning to take me tonight? Asking the question, I actually didn't hold out any hope at all. Because Zixuan and I are keeping our marriage a secret, all her colleagues at the hospital, even many of her friends, have no idea that she's married. And they certainly don't know I exist. That's also why I stayed at her hospital for half a month, yet was never recognized by any of her colleagues. I know she doesn't have me in her heart, but when it really came down to it, I still felt like a fool, wanting to see exactly what her attitude toward me was. Even just a little bit of hesitation, a little bit of conflict would have been enough. Xiao Yu, Zixuan's brows furrowed even tighter. The expression on her face became even more strained. It was clear, visible reluctance. Just as I expected, her reaction felt like an ice pick, sharpened long ago, stabbing precisely and mercilessly into the softest part of my heart. The pain wasn't sharp and sudden, it was a long, piercing ache. It carried an bone-chilling coldness that sobered me up in an instant. She has never viewed me as her husband, or even as a partner. Not even once. I smiled bitterly to myself. To stop making things difficult for her, and to save the last bit of my own dignity, I took the initiative to offer her an out. Actually, I was just about to tell you. I've already made plans to eat with some friends tonight, so I probably won't have time to go with you. This answer clearly made Zixuan breathe a sigh of relief. Her tense shoulders visibly relaxed. A look of genuine relief even appeared on her face. Oh, I see. All right then, maybe. Some other time, I'll introduce you to them. I let out a soft and said nothing more. I pretended to be tired and closed my eyes. That evening, Zixuan went to the department gathering alone. As soon as she walked into the private room, a few female colleagues she was close with enthusiastically pulled her over to sit with them. Seeing she was all alone, everyone immediately started teasing her. Zixuan, didn't we tell you to bring your boyfriend along? Where is he? Yeah, don't try to lie to us and say you don't have one. We saw it with our own eyes the other day. A tall, handsome guy came to find you, and you even treated him to a movie. Come on, spill the beans. When did you start dating? How did you keep it so well hidden? The barrage of teasing from her colleagues started to overwhelm Zixuan. Under their persistent questioning, she had no choice but to nod in agreement. All right, fine. I'll ask him, to see if he's free. But as she took out her phone, she was faced with two choices. Should she call me, her legal, secret husband? Or call that childhood friend of hers, Sun Saiyu? Unlike before, this time he would be appearing as her boyfriend. Zixuan stared at the two names in her contact list. Her fingertip hovered over the screen for a few seconds. Finally, as if she had made up her mind, her finger landed on Sun Saiyu's name, and the call went through. Sun Saiyu agreed readily, and before long, he appeared at the doorway of the private room. As soon as he walked in, he instantly caught the eyes of many female doctors present, and gasps of admiration rose one after another. No wonder Zixuan kept him all to herself. He's such a handsome young guy. Hey handsome, tell us, when did you two start? Who chased whom? Zixuan, you're so mean for not sharing such a great catch until now. Facing everyone's interrogation and teasing, Sun Saiyu handled it gracefully. He even took advantage of a moment when no one was looking to quietly squeeze Zhou Zixuan's hand under the table. There wasn't a hint of awkwardness or offense on his face as he smiled and replied. When the conversation turned to how Sun Saiyu was 3 years younger than Zhou Zixuan, the atmosphere grew even more lively. Everyone seemed ready to get to the bottom of it, and Zhou Zixuan began to struggle to keep up. The smile she was holding onto started to stiffen, but fortunately, Director Liu, who was quite composed, helped her out of the situation. Director Liu took out a craft paper envelope and handed it to Zhou Zixuan. Xiao Zhou, I just ran into a patient's family member downstairs who said they left some important documents in the ward. They asked me to pass them on. You should head down there in a bit and return them to them. Zhou Zixuan felt an immediate sense of relief. She gave Director Liu a grateful look, took the envelope, and practically fled the private room. She waited in the hotel lobby for several minutes, but no one came to claim it. The night breeze was a bit chilly. She was feeling anxious and curious, and after a moment of hesitation, she went ahead and opened the seal of the envelope, wanting to see what kind of documents they were, thinking she might be able to identify the owner from the contents. Inside were 2 documents. One was a copy of a medical record. She took a quick glance at the diagnosis, terminal malignant tumor. The other was a voluntary waiver of marital property rights. So tragic, to be in the terminal stage of a fatal disease, yet still getting a divorce. And even voluntarily giving up all assets. For some reason, Zhou Zixuan's heart skipped a beat, and a vague, indescribable sense of unease welled up. Subconsciously, she wanted to flip open the medical record to check the patient's name. Just as her fingertips were about to touch the patient information section, a slender, slightly pale hand suddenly reached out from the side and firmly pressed down on the medical record. Then, the entire envelope was snatched away. Excuse me, these documents are... Zhou Zixuan recoiled as if she had received an electric shock. She looked up to explain herself, but the moment she saw who it was, she froze completely, her voice cracking. Xiao Yu, why? Is it you? Her eyes widened, and her gaze darted back and forth between my face and the envelope in my hands. A terrifying thought suddenly sprang into her mind, making her voice start to tremble. Is this medical record yours? And this waiver of property rights? Is that yours too? Yang Xiao Yu, what on earth are you trying to do? Her tone was full of shock and interrogation, but if you listened carefully, there was also a hint of imperceptible panic and concern. I looked her in the eyes, trying my best to keep my voice steady and calm. It's not mine. It belongs to a friend of mine. He didn't want to drag his wife down with him, so... Honestly, I never expected to run into her here, and even less did I expect that she would stumble upon the 2 things I was desperate to hide, my terminal illness and my divorce. For a moment, a surge of absurd, nervous tension rose from deep within me. Seriously, Zhou Zixuan narrowed her eyes, staring straight at me. It seemed like she was trying to find a trace of a lie on my face. She caught the fleeting flicker of awkwardness and pallor on me. She clearly didn't believe me, and she reached out, ready to grab the waiver of rights again. She wanted to see for herself. I watched her hand reaching out. My heart filled with bitterness. I couldn't even be bothered to stop her. I just slowly closed my eyes, waiting for the moment the truth would be exposed. However, the expected interrogation never came. A familiar male voice rang out beside her, and at the same time, an arm wrapped around Zhou Zixuan's waist with total ease. Zixuan, he said, why did you come all the way downstairs? Everyone's waiting for you. Sun Saiyu leaned in intimately, his tone casual and familiar. I opened my eyes, seeing not only Sun Saiyu's intimate behavior, but also the panicked look on Zhou Zixuan's face, as if she'd been caught red-handed. She instinctively tried to pull away from his arm, wanting to explain something to me, but with Sun Saiyu right there, she couldn't bring herself to admit her relationship with me. Compared to her panic, I was unusually calm. My gaze swept over Sun Saiyu's face dismissively, and I reached out to take back the document, my tone distant and polite. I've received the papers. Thank you, Dr. Zhou. My friend is still waiting for me, so I won't disturb your gathering any longer. After I said that, I didn't look at either of them again. I turned and left. On the drive home, it felt like there was a heavy, waterlogged piece of cotton stuffed in my chest. It was so heavy, so stifling, it was hard to breathe. My mind involuntarily kept flashing back to that scene, Sun Saiyu's hand on Zhou Zixuan's waist. And that split second when Zhou Zixuan stiffened, yet didn't immediately push him away. As her husband, seeing something like that should have made me furious, but perhaps because similar neglect had happened so many times over the past 5 years, my heart felt completely numb. There was no intense grief, only a vast, endless exhaustion and coldness, weighing down on my heart, making even breathing feel like a struggle. The 5 years I spent in a one-sided devotion, giving her everything, passed by in a blur. Now, this 30-day cooling-off period before the divorce feels like it's dragging on for an eternity. Every minute, every second is pure agony. The car window is down. The night wind howls inside, stinging my eyes. My vision is a bit blurred, and before I know it, 2 lines of cold liquid run down my face. I reach up to wipe them away. They're tears. How pathetic. Before the bitterness in my heart can subside, my body sends out a warning signal first. My stomach starts to cramp with a terrifying intensity, one spasm after another. Here it comes again. The agonizing pain erupted without any warning. It instantly flooded my entire body, and beads of cold sweat began to seep from my forehead. They slid down rapidly, while my hands, gripping the steering wheel, began to tremble uncontrollably. My knuckles turned white from the force. The doctor was right. The stomach really is an emotional organ. Perhaps it was feeling sad for me, too. Maybe it felt like I wasn't worth the trouble. I offered a bitter, miserable smile. I tried with all my might to pull the car over to the side of the road, but my body was so weak that I couldn't even keep my foot steady. The strength to hit the brakes was draining away fast, and my vision started to blur and sway. The world was spinning and twisting before my eyes, and in the end, I could only watch helplessly as my car swerved and crashed into the guardrail on the side of the road. With a deafening boom, the airbag deployed instantly. It slammed hard against my chest and stomach, and the excruciating pain swallowed me up like a tsunami. Everything went completely black, and I lost all consciousness. When I came to again, the familiar scent of antiseptic told me that I was back in the hospital. A young nurse was just changing my IV drip. She let out a sigh of relief when she saw me wake up. "You're awake. How do you feel?" "The car accident only caused some superficial injuries. We've already taken care of those. However, you need to notify your family right away. The doctor has some things about your condition that need to be discussed with your family." I knew exactly what was going on. I spoke calmly. "I know about my condition. Whatever you have to say, just tell me directly." The nurse was stunned for a moment, looking at me with a strange expression. "You know? And yet you still dared to drive out by yourself?" Her expression turned serious. "Mr. Yang, your condition is already very serious. You must notify your family to come and take care of you immediately. From now on, you cannot leave the hospital." The nurse's words went in one ear and out the other. But the car accident had to be dealt with, and in my current state, I couldn't leave. My parents are far away in another city, so after thinking it over, I could only reach for my phone to call Zhou Zixuan. The busy tone rang for a long time until it automatically disconnected. Nobody answered. I tried again. The string of red missed call notifications on the screen stung my eyes. I let my arm drop weakly, and the phone slid onto the bedsheet. I suppose that makes sense. At this moment, she is probably drinking and celebrating with her beloved boyfriend, Sun Sayu, along with colleagues and friends. The party must be in full swing. How could she possibly care about me, an insignificant soon-to-be ex-husband? The nurse, having seen my actions and my ashen complexion from the side, couldn't help but ask a bit too much. "Can you not reach your spouse? Do you need our hospital to officially help you contact your family?" I shook my head slowly. "No need. We are already in our divorce cooling-off period. There are only 20-something days left." The nurse clearly didn't expect that answer, and she stared at me, stunned. "Even if you are getting a divorce, you are so sick right now. She should at least come over to take a look, right? Just to take a look. If only Zhou Zixuan could look at me just once, even if it were just a fleeting glance. Maybe I wouldn't have ended up like this, feeling so utterly hopeless. 5 years of marriage, and I've been nothing but a fool chasing after a light. I poured every bit of my passion and heart into trying to get close to her, to warm her up. But in the end, I didn't even get the slightest bit of genuine reciprocation. The first year, I would fix a different dinner for her every night and wait. I'd often wait until the food was ice cold, wait until deep into the night. When she got home, she wouldn't even glance at the table, just coldly brush me off saying she worked late and already ate. Then she'd shut the bedroom door. The second year, she insisted on working while sick, and my heart just ached for her. I took time off work specifically to slow cook some gentle, nourishing porridge. I carefully brought it to her office, but she, right in front of her colleagues, coldly knocked over the thermos and warned me, "Yang Xiaoyu, remember your place, don't do things that overstep your bounds." That day, the scalding porridge splashed onto my hand, burning and blistering it. But that pain was nothing compared to the chill in her eyes. The third year, I pinched pennies for 3 months' salary just to buy her a designer handbag. I was so full of joy giving it to her, but she thought I had thrown away her old canvas bag without permission. She flew into a rage at me and didn't speak a single word to me for 6 whole months. Later, I found out that the faded, worn-out canvas bag was a gift from Sun Sayu when they graduated high school. She had always treasured it like a precious gem. The 4th year, my heart, just through these endless expectations followed by disappointments, that grew heavier each time, slowly lost its warmth and wore out all my strength. All these years, it's all been me one-sidedly running toward her. But she has pushed me away, time and time again, so ruthlessly. I've finally accepted my fate. Zhou Zixuan has never cared about me. And she has never, not even for a second, felt a shred of real emotion for me. So, she won't come tonight. I know that. I offered a bitter smile and turned the phone screen toward the nurse, showing the screen full of glaring red missed calls. We wouldn't have reached this point of divorce otherwise. The nurse looked at those missed calls, opened her mouth, and in the end, it just turned into a helpless sigh. Well, can you call a friend or a colleague at least? You really can't be by yourself right now. After the nurse left, I called Li Feng to come over. He is the only person in this city I can truly call a close friend. Li Feng rushed over, first heading to the police station to help me finish the accident paperwork. Then he went back to the hospital to help me with the discharge. A few days later, when my car was fixed, he accompanied me to the repair shop to pick it up. Unexpectedly, I ran into Zhou Zixuan at the repair shop. When she saw the car with the clear, lingering signs of the collision on the front, she was extremely surprised. You were in a car accident? When did this happen? Why didn't you tell me? I looked up at her, and in my mind, the image of that night, with the screen full of red missed calls, flashed by. The words of explanation rolled around in my throat, but in the end, I swallowed them back down. Forget it. What's the point in saying anything? Just a small accident, I'm fine. I spoke in a flat tone, knowing how busy you usually are. So I didn't make a point of telling you. Seeing my overly calm, even distant attitude, a strange feeling flickered in Zhou Zixuan's heart for no reason. It felt like guilt. She opened her mouth and instinctively began to explain. By the way, that night Sayu and we just happened to run into each other at the restaurant and everyone was teasing us. It really didn't mean anything, don't overthink it. I nodded and turned my gaze elsewhere. I asked casually, I heard he got a divorce. Zhou Zixuan clearly didn't expect me to bring that up. She froze for a moment before nodding. Yeah, it's been a while. Then I paused. My eyes fell back onto her face, and I offered a cold, joyless smile. You must be quite happy, right? You'll be even happier soon. I said that last part very softly, almost to myself. What do you mean? Zhou Zixuan frowned, not catching it clearly. She didn't understand the implication of my words and was just about to press for more. When her phone started ringing, she looked down at the caller ID. Her expression shifted slightly, and she mouthed wait a moment to me, before walking away to take the call. About 10 minutes later, when Zhou Zixuan hung up and returned, Li Feng and I were already in the car, ready to leave. The window wasn't fully closed. My voice, laced with a hint of a smile, drifted out. What's the rush? In about 10 days, the divorce cooling-off period will be over. Only then will it be a clean break, nice and quiet. Those words, divorce cooling-off period, felt like a thin needle, piercing straight into Zhou Zixuan's ears. Her heart gave a sudden, sharp, involuntary pang. She couldn't stop herself from remembering that day at the restaurant entrance. The divorce property waiver agreement in my hand, and that terminal illness report. A terrifying thought instantly gripped her. She practically lunged toward my car, slamming her hand against the partially open window. Her voice trembled, though she didn't even realize it. Yang Xiaoyu, what were you just saying? What divorce cooling off period? Who is getting a divorce? Is it you? Are you divorcing me? I didn't expect such an intense reaction from Zhou Zixuan. I certainly didn't expect her to rush over and confront me like that. Facing her eyes, which seemed to want to pierce through all my defenses, I felt a momentary flash of guilt and panic, but quickly, I forced myself to stay calm. Almost out of instinct, I used Li Feng, who was sitting in the passenger seat, as a shield. Not me. I looked away, trying to keep my tone as natural as possible. It's Li Feng. He's been going through a divorce lately. After saying that, I discreetly gave Li Feng a look. Li Feng was stunned at first, but then he caught my signal, and could only bite the bullet, bearing the weight of Zhou Zixuan's probing gaze. Nods awkwardly. Yeah, exactly. It's me getting a divorce. All that messy business at home. So it was Li Feng. For some reason, hearing this answer made the tight string in Zhou Zixuan's heart slacken inexplicably, but immediately after, the terminal illness medical records she saw that day surfaced in her mind again. She turned a suspicious gaze toward Li Feng, looking him up and down carefully. With her years of professional medical insight, although Li Feng looked a bit tired, his complexion was rosy and his spirits seemed fine. He didn't look like someone suffering from a terminal illness with only days left to live at all. The doubts in her heart were not dispelled, instead, they deepened. Your illness? She stared at Li Feng, her tone filled with clear probing. The illness? Li Feng glanced at me again, following my eye signal. He had no choice but to keep making it up. Oh, right. It's just that my health had some issues, and I didn't want to drag my family down. That's why. Even with that said, the skepticism on Zhou Zixuan's face didn't lessen at all. Her eyes were filled with distrust. Afraid she would keep pressing and expose the lie, I quickly interrupted. using a tone heavy with deliberate sorrow and helplessness. Alright, let's not talk about it. Zixuan, you're a doctor too. You should understand that feeling. Sometimes letting go is a relief for both sides. I paused, intentionally steering the conversation away. Actually, when I ran into you at the hospital that day, I was just there accompanying him for a checkup. I was going to ask if you could take a look, but you were so busy. And you had a friend with you, so I didn't have him bother you again. Mentioning that day at the hospital, Zhou Zixuan's eyes clearly flickered. A hint of guilt flashed by. Sun Saiyu had happened to come find her that day. She wasn't sure if I was hinting at something or if I had seen something. Oh, I see, she said, her thoughts in a bit of a scramble. She instinctively avoided my gaze, and her tone became perfunctory. Well, if your friend has any discomfort, it's better to come to the hospital for a systematic checkup. Don't delay it. In her flustered state, she had no heart left to keep digging into the details of Li Feng's condition and just gave a casual instruction. Then hastily ended the topic. Although I'd luckily gotten away with it for the moment, I didn't feel the slightest bit of relief because I knew exactly what Zhou Zixuan was thinking right now. She didn't really believe Li Feng's excuse, she was just afraid I would look into why she was with Sun Saiyu that day, and afraid I would discover the ambiguous relationship between her and Sun Saiyu. Clearly, with her sharp observational skills honed by years of practicing medicine. As long as she had been just a little more careful, she could have easily seen that my complexion and my mental state were far worse than Li Feng's. That was the grayish, withered aura of someone whose illness had reached the point of no return. It's just a pity that whenever it involves Sun Saiyu, her reason and judgment vanish in an instant. This is probably what it's like when you care for someone to the extreme, commonly known as being a love-struck fool. Watching Zhou Zixuan standing by the car, checking her phone over and over. I knew exactly what was up. She was looking for another excuse to leave. Sure enough, not even a minute later, her phone buzzed again, and after one glance, she immediately said to me, "The hospital. A critical patient just came into the ER, and the director needs me back right away. Xiaoyu, you just had that car accident, so you really shouldn't be driving yourself." Perhaps it was the guilt from her lie, or maybe just a flicker of pity for my pale face, but before she left, she added something uncharacteristically caring. "Whenever you need a ride, just let me know, I'll take you." I looked at her, feeling absolutely nothing inside, finding it almost laughable, but for some reason, I played along and replied, "Sure. Let's make it 3 days from now. I have a business trip in the next city over. My company set it up. You can drive me." She paused as she turned away, clearly not expecting me to actually take her up on it. She looked back, meeting my dead calm gaze, hesitated for a couple of seconds, then nodded. "Fine, 3 days from now, right? I'll remember." With that, she rushed into her car and sped off. 3 days later, I waited from dawn until dusk, and from dusk until late into the night. Outside, the city lights flickered on, neon signs buzzing, and the noisy bustle of the city night had just begun. But the person I was waiting for never showed up. I stood on the balcony, looking down at the empty parking space. My heart completely still. I had expected this result all along, hadn't I? Maybe I was even secretly hoping for it, just so that pathetic, ridiculous sliver of hope left in me would finally die for good. I pulled out my phone, logged into my secondary WeChat account, and refreshed the feed. Zhou Zixuan's profile picture was right there at the top. No caption, just a short video. I tapped on it. The background was a beach at night. Against the deep blue sky, one explosion of brilliant fireworks after another lit up, reflecting across the water in a blaze of color. And right in the center of the frame, the side profile of a man was perfectly outlined by the glow of the fireworks. He was looking up at the sky, a brilliant smile on his face. It was Sun Saiyu. The video was short, and it ended quickly. I logged out of the secondary account, switched back to my main one, and checked Zhou Zixuan's moments again. Still nothing, just a cold, blank horizontal line. I couldn't help but let out a low laugh that echoed through the empty, silent room, sounding incredibly bleak. So that was her hospital emergency. So she had chosen to stand me up without a second thought, just for Sun Saiyu once again. No, it's not even just a matter of her standing me up. She probably never even took our promise to heart in the first place. I found Zhou Zixuan's number and dialed it. It rang for a long time until I thought no one was going to pick up again. Then the call connected, with a lot of noise in the background. I could faintly hear the sound of ocean waves and fireworks going off. "Xiaoyu?" Zhou Zixuan's voice came through. It carried that usual, indifferent tone she always used with me, along with a hint of impatience that was hard to miss. I gripped my phone tightly, my fingertips turning cold. Yet, I tried my best to keep my voice steady. "Hey, it's me. Where are you?" There was a pause on the other end, followed immediately by Zhou Zixuan's reply, given without a second thought. "I'm out of town. The hospital sent me here last minute for an academic conference. It was so rushed, I didn't get a chance to tell you." I'll be back in a couple of days. Her voice, accompanied by the clear sounds of fireworks and crashing waves on the other end, painted such an ironic picture. The last bit of warmth in my heart went completely cold. I didn't even have the desire to expose her clumsy lie. "When did you leave?" I asked, my tone revealing no emotion. "I got the notice on the night before last." "Why?" she retorted. "It's nothing." I lowered my eyes. "Stay safe. Get some rest early." "Got it. You too." The call ended. The busy signal lasted for a long time before I slowly lowered my arm. As expected, Sun Sayu will always come first for her. And I was probably just a tool for Zhou Zixuan to fill her empty time. Thankfully, I woke up to reality in time. I can still push away the person who doesn't love me before I die. I'll give her back her freedom and let myself off the hook, too. I opened my calendar app and scrolled across the screen. I counted the days until the end of the divorce cooling-off period. Only 7 days left. Zhou Zixuan, after these 7 days, you and I will have nothing more to do with each other. I tugged at the corner of my mouth, trying to smile. But suddenly I hunched over, breaking into a fit of gut-wrenching, violent coughing. I instinctively covered my mouth, coughing until everything went black before my eyes. It felt like my insides were being torn apart. Once it finally calmed down, I opened my palm. My hand was covered in a blindingly bright red. It won't be long now. My life has also entered its final countdown. While Zhou Zixuan is away these few days, I wanted to seize the time to pack up the rest of my things and make a clean break of it. But my body just isn't cooperating. Even the slightest movement leaves me drenched in a cold sweat. I'm feeling dizzy and short of breath. With no other choice, I had to call a moving company. I asked them to come over and pack up all my personal belongings. As for where all this stuff is going, I haven't figured that out yet. Should these old things, filled with memories, be buried in the ground along with me? Forget it, I can't just leave them here. I don't want them to be an eyesore for Zhou Zixuan after I'm gone. I don't want to annoy her, but I never expected that. Just as the movers were working away, Zhou Zixuan actually came back. She stood at the open front door, staring at all the strangers working in the house. And seeing the living room slowly being emptied, she was completely stunned. "Xiao Yu?" she asked, walking in. Her voice was filled with shock and confusion. "Who are these people? What are you doing?" I already had my explanation ready. I said in a calm tone, "The renovations at the new place are almost finished. The environment there is quieter, and it's much more private. I thought I'd start moving some things over bit by bit. You're a light sleeper. Moving is noisy, and I didn't want to disturb you." A look of realization flashed across Zhou Zixuan's face, as if she remembered the day we signed the transfer contract at the hospital. She nodded, not suspecting a thing. Perhaps connecting it to the fact that I had gone for a physical exam that day, she casually asked, "By the way, where's that medical report of yours? Let me take a look. Were there any health indicators I should be worried about?" My heart tightened, but I kept my face impassive. While tidying up the books, I answered in a casual tone. "Everything is such a mess with the move. I'm not sure which box I shoved the report into. But it's nothing serious. Everything's fine. Don't worry." Zhou Zixuan let out an "oh." Her gaze rested on my face for a moment. She seemed to have finally noticed my unusually pale and haggard complexion. Her lips moved, but in the end, she only said, "You don't look so good. Are you exhausted from all this moving? Make sure to get some rest." She didn't jump to any worse conclusions. Perhaps in her mind, I'm someone who can be taken for granted forever. How could I ever be linked to a terminal illness? "I will," I replied. I kept my head down, continuing to pack. Zhou Zixuan didn't leave either. She just stood there in the living room, looking a bit out of place. She watched the workers carry out one box after another, then suddenly noticed something. She asked, puzzled, "Why are you only moving your things? Aren't mine being moved over too?" My hands paused for a split second. Without looking up, I said, "I'm just moving mine first. Most of your things are very personal. I'm not sure what you want to keep and what you want to leave behind. Better to let you decide for yourself when you get back." Ever since 2 years ago, when I accidentally moved her old canvas bag and triggered that 6-month-long Cold War, I've been careful. Zhou Zixuan had clearly drawn the line. I wasn't allowed to touch her personal belongings. The air went quiet for a few seconds. She probably remembered that incident too. A flicker of awkwardness crossed her face, and she didn't press the matter further. She turned her gaze to the now emptied living room, sounding a bit wistful. Or perhaps just trying to make small talk. "It's so much stuff gone all at once. It feels a bit strange, though I suppose the place does look a lot more spacious." I gave a soft yeah and forced the corners of my mouth into a weak smile. I didn't say anything else. Once everything was moved out, I followed the workers downstairs, watching them load the boxes into the truck. Finally, I slipped a note to the driver with my parents' address back home. Didn't plan on going home to wait for the end. In my final moments, I just wanted to leave quietly, but as their son, I couldn't leave my folks with nothing to remember me by. These old things, let them be my final keepsake for them. As the moving truck pulled away, I turned around. And, to my surprise, saw Zhou Zixuan standing at the entrance, watching me in silence. "What are you doing down here?" I asked. She seemed a bit dazed, hesitating before replying. "Nothing, just came down to take a look." "Want to take a walk?" I was caught off guard. For Zhou Zixuan to actually ask to walk with me, in the past 5 years. It was like the sun rising in the west. Since she was in the mood. And even though I was physically exhausted, I didn't refuse. After all, I didn't have much time left for walking anyway. Sure, we walked side by side, slowly making our way down the quiet path in the complex. Neither of us spoke, the atmosphere was subtly awkward. We hadn't gone far when, around the corner, someone suddenly appeared. It was Sun Sayu. Time seemed to freeze right there. The next second, Zhou Zixuan reacted as if shocked by electricity, abruptly pulling her arm away from mine. She instinctively stepped 2 paces to the side, distancing herself from me. A look of clear panic flashed across her face as she looked at me. Then at Sun Sayu, her lips parted, but she couldn't get a sound out. "Why are you here?" She finally looked at Sun Sayu, her voice sounding tight. Sun Sayu's gaze lingered on me for a fleeting moment, filled with curiosity. Before turning to Zhou Zixuan with an unchanging smile, "I asked a friend around and found out you lived in this complex. I've been saying I wanted to visit ever since graduation, but I never got the chance. I just happened to be in the area today, so I thought I'd drop by and surprise you." He was talking to Zhou Zixuan, but his eyes kept drifting toward me, intentionally or not. "Sister Zixuan, who is this?" he asked, looking at me politely, but his eyes held a sort of scrutiny and curiosity that only another man could pick up on. "He remembers me, he saw me at the hospital. He saw me at the restaurant entrance too, and now, I've appeared in his girlfriend's apartment complex. And I was out walking with her." His gut tells him that the relationship between me and Zhou Zixuan probably isn't simple. Zhou Zixuan hesitated, which is rare for her. She looked at me, then back at Sun Sayu, as if she were desperately trying to figure out the right way to introduce me. Before she could come up with an answer, I stepped forward and, with a natural air, reached out to shake Sun Sayu's hand. With a polite, distant smile, I said, "Yang Xiaoyu. A former patient of Dr. Zhou. I haven't been feeling well lately. And I'm going through a divorce, so I've been in a bad headspace. I came to Dr. Zhou for a consultation, more like a counseling session." My tone was flat, as if I were talking about something that had nothing to do with me. Sun Sayu shook my hand, but his gaze drifted back to Zhou Zixuan. As if searching for confirmation, Zhou Zixuan clearly let out a sigh of relief, and immediately jumped on what I had said. "Right, this is Mr. Yang Sayu. And this is my friend, Sun Sayu." Her introduction was a bit vague, but she clearly accepted the doctor-patient framing I'd provided. "Oh, I see," Sun Sayu nodded, his smile deepening. "You do look a bit pale, Mr. Yang. Take care of yourself. Sister Zixuan is a great doctor. You've come to the right person." A subtle, awkward silence fell between us. Zhou Zixuan probably felt the tension and quickly tried to smooth things over. Sayu, you got here at just the right time. Why don't you come up and sit for a while? Mr. Yang can join us too." I wanted to refuse, but seeing the slightly pleading look in Zhou Zixuan's eyes and the bizarre situation unfolding, I suddenly changed my mind. "Sure, actually, I am a bit tired from walking. I'll go up for a glass of water. I'm curious to see what happens next." Back at the apartment, Sun Sayu noticed the signs of moving still left around the living room and looked surprised. "Sister Zixuan, are you moving today?" Zhou Zixuan glanced at me and explained, "It's for Mr. Yang. He has some things to move and is storing them here for now." "I see." Sun Sayu nodded, and didn't press further. Zhou Zixuan told us to sit down, then turned to the kitchen to boil water for tea. Only Sun Sayu and I were left in the living room. The silence returned. I didn't know him at all, and we had nothing in common to talk about. To my surprise, Sun Sayu took the lead. He shifted his position, sitting a little closer to me. With a look of curiosity and a strange sense of forced familiarity, he asked, "Brother Xiaoyu, I heard you mention you're going through a divorce. If you don't mind me asking, why is that?" "Of course, if it's too personal to share. Just forget I asked." I gave a slight. I didn't expect him to ask such a personal question so bluntly, but looking into his clear, earnest eyes, I fell silent for a few seconds, then let out a soft chuckle. My tone carried a hint of self-mockery. "It's nothing, really. I suppose it's just that my wife has always kept someone else in her heart." Sun Sayu clearly didn't expect this answer, and a flicker of awkwardness crossed his face. He whispered, "Sorry, Brother Xiaoyu. I shouldn't have asked that." "It's all right." I shook my head, my tone calm. "It's all in the past now." Sun Sayu observed my expression. Seeming to feel that I wasn't too bothered by it, he opened up. A look of empathy appeared on his face. "Actually, to tell you the truth, Brother Xiaoyu, I also just got divorced. A little while ago, I was a bit surprised. Although I knew he had separated from his wife, hearing him say it himself felt different. So, how did you get through it? A look of mixed gratitude and tenderness suddenly surfaced on Sun Saiyu's face. His voice grew a bit lighter. The reason I was able to move on is all thanks to Zixuan. He fell into his memories. His eyes grew distant. Back when I first got divorced, I was completely broken, like my whole world had collapsed. It was Zixuan. When she found out, she barged into my life, no matter what. She kept me company, took me out to clear my head, and pulled me out of that despair, one step at a time. You know, Brother Xiaoyu, when I was little and got bullied, it was always Zixuan who stood up to protect me first. Even if she ended up getting hurt herself, when I had a fever, she was so worried she couldn't sleep all night, sneaking over the wall to my place, just to hold me and coax me to take my medicine. Maybe it's because of her that I felt being a doctor was so noble. Later on, when I was in school, whenever she had free time, she'd wait for me at the intersection, using her own pocket money to buy me snacks. Even if it meant she often went hungry. I remember all of those things. So when I got divorced this time, she was the first person to reach out to me, to comfort me and stay by my side. If it weren't for her, I honestly don't know where I'd be right now. I probably would have given up on myself. Sun Saiyu's tone was filled with reliance and gratitude. Every word felt like a tiny, precise hammer, gently tapping against my heart, which was already riddled with holes. The Zixuan he described was gentle and brave, selfless and full of strength. This completely shattered the version of Zhou Zixuan I knew. In that moment, an indescribable bitterness spread from the deepest part of my heart, instantly soaking through my entire being. I finally realized, with painful clarity, that Zhou Zixuan wasn't naturally cold. She had just given all of her warmth and bravery to the person sitting right in front of me. Zhou Zixuan didn't have to keep our marriage a secret. She just wants to keep the most important place in her heart for Sun Saiyu forever. And now that Sun Saiyu is single again, there are no more obstacles between them. She can finally get what she's always wanted. Realizing all of this, I suddenly find it kind of funny. Partly because I've finally completely set myself free, and partly because I realize how incredibly ridiculous my past self really was. I was like a total fool, hung up on someone who never even had me in their heart. Trapped for all those years, pouring my heart and soul into it. I even almost lost my life over it. Is it worth it, Yang Xiaoyu? You really damn well deserve this. Seeing the deadpan expression on my face, Sun Saiyu probably thinks I'm touched by his story and feeling a sense of resonance. The way he looks at me has a bit more of that kindred spirit approval now. After hesitating for a long time, Sun Saiyu lowers his voice and asks me a question he's been burying deep in his heart. Brother Xiaoyu, I feel like you can really understand me. So I want to ask you, do you think there's a chance for Sister Zixuan and me? Can we actually be together? That question hits like an icy arrow, piercing right through the last bit of my crumbling composure. I look into Sun Saiyu's eyes, filled with anticipation and longing, and my heart feels like a tangled mess. The absurdity of it all reaches a breaking point. I look at the slightly empty living room. It used to be filled with furniture and decorations I'd carefully picked out, and now it's just a void waiting to be filled by someone else. I take a deep breath and, with a kind of brutal calmness, I answer him seriously. As for Dr. Zhou, I don't actually know her that well, but hearing you talk like this today, I think she really is someone worth cherishing. If you've already made up your mind, and if there's mutual interest. I pause for a moment, ignoring the sharp, stinging pain in my heart. Then I support you. Go do what you want to do. Sun Saiyu's eyes light up instantly. The way he looks at me is full of gratitude and a sense of relief. Thank you, Brother Xiaoyu. Really, thank you for understanding. Just then, Zhou Zixuan comes out with the tea she's brewed and pours it. The atmosphere goes strangely quiet. Everyone seems to be harboring their own thoughts. We can only manage some small talk until the sun starts to set. Sun Saiyu enthusiastically insists, Brother Xiaoyu, let's go grab dinner. It's my treat. Consider it a thank you for the advice today. Before I can even reply, Zhou Zixuan, who is at the door changing her shoes, freezes for a split second. She turns back to look at me, her eyes filled with complex emotions. As if she wants to say something but stops. I instantly understand her reluctance. Of course, why would she want me, her ex-husband, tagging along to dinner between her and her beloved little brother? I smile lightly, stand up, and say, I'll pass. Things have been busy lately, and I'm a bit tired. I want to go home and rest early. You two go ahead, and have a good time. Sun Saiyu tries to insist again. Zhou Zixuan beat him to it, shoving the car keys into his hand. She practically pushed him out the door. Saiyu, go wait for me in the car. I still have a few things regarding the medical situation to discuss with Mr. Yang. Her tone left no room for argument. The door clicked shut. In the room, it was suddenly just me and Zhou Zixuan. It was so quiet that I could clearly hear my own slow, heavy heartbeat, and her slightly uneven breathing. Facing me, Zhou Zixuan's face once again showed that flustered, helpless look. She opened her mouth, trying to find the words to explain everything that just happened. To explain her relationship with Sun Sayu. You don't need to feel pressured. I spoke first, my voice calm, without a ripple of emotion. We had an agreement before we married, to keep it a secret. Since I promised, I will stick to it. I won't let your friends know about us. I said it like I was stating a fact that had nothing to do with me. Zhou Zixuan froze, clearly not expecting me to say that. The tension on her face faded slightly, replaced by a complex mix of gratitude. And perhaps a hint of guilt. Xiao Yu, thank you, she said softly. Her fingers twisted the corner of her shirt unconsciously. Give me a little more time. I am actually starting to get used to the identity of being married. When the time is right, I will definitely tell everyone that you are my husband. She gave me another promise. Her tone sounded sincere, but my heart was already ice cold. After she left, I couldn't hold on anymore. I lunged toward the coffee table, grabbed a few tissues and covered my mouth. After a heart-wrenching fit of coughing, I opened my hand. In the center of the snow-white tissue was a jarring blotch of blood. Oh, Zhou Zixuan, honestly, I don't care at all whether you want to go public with our relationship. After 5 years of marriage, I have exhausted every bit of spirit and hope I had. Now, with my life nearing its end, I no longer have the future you speak of. These last few days, I just want to truly, genuinely live for myself for once. I had just cleaned up the traces of blood when my phone rang. It was a WeChat message from Professor Chen, the mentor I was closest to in college. Xiao Yu, October 13th is the school's 80th anniversary alumni reunion. All the old colleagues in the department miss you. It's been so long. Would it be convenient for you to come back and visit then? Looking at the message, a complex wave of warmth and sorrow surged in my heart. Back then, when I was fruitlessly chasing after Zhou Zixuan, constantly falling into self-doubt and pain, it was Professor Chen who guided me time and time again, encouraging me and pulling me out of that emotional quagmire. After graduation, busy with life, my contact with him gradually faded. It faded so much that I nearly forgot about this mentor even as I reached the end of my life. I didn't hesitate at all and replied immediately. Of course I'm free, Professor Chen. I'll be there on time. After chatting with the professor a bit more about how things have been, I finally ended the call. My sick body feels just like a machine that's run out of fuel. Just standing there talking for a while and handling a few small matters had already left me completely exhausted. I washed up early and got into bed. Only Zhou Zixuan actually came back tonight. And she came back quite early, carrying some takeout for a late-night snack. The sound of the door opening woke me up. I looked at the food container in her hand. No need to guess, it was probably more of that spicy food my body just can't handle anymore. Zhou Zixuan looked a bit surprised to see me already in bed. Sorry, I didn't know you were already asleep this early. Did I wake you? It's fine. I shook my head, my voice still hoarse from just waking up. After getting up to use the bathroom and coming back, Zhou Zixuan was leaning against the headboard, playing on her phone. She suddenly looked up and stared at me, as if she had made up her mind about something, and said, Xiao Yu, haven't you always been talking about wanting to take a trip to the beach? I'll take some time off next month and go with you. This sudden invitation, is this supposed to be some kind of compensation for me? But I don't care anymore. There are only a few days left in the divorce cooling-off period. I don't want any complications and I don't want to be tied to her anymore. So, I calmly shook my head. No, there's no need. The company has been busy lately, I can't get away. Zhou Zixuan looked at me with surprise, her eyes full of confusion. After all, ever since we met, I was always the one planning our trips and inviting her while she would mostly refuse or just brush me off. Now that she finally took the initiative to suggest something, my reaction was surprisingly indifferent. She thought about it for a moment, probably assuming I was still hung up on the situation with Sun Sayu. Her guilt deepened, and for once, she didn't just give up. She stayed by my side, offering one compensation plan after another. Going to see a new movie, checking out that new popular restaurant, or even attending a concert, all of which I rejected one by one. I didn't want her to notice the physical toll or my determination to leave. Finally, before she could speak again, I proactively made a request. October 13th, the School Alumni Association meeting. Professor Chen asked me to go back and take a look. Do you want to go with me? My tone was very flat, it didn't sound like an invitation. It sounded more like a notification. Upon hearing this, Zhou Zixuan noticeably exhaled, as if she had finally found a chance to make amends. She agreed immediately. No problem. I'll swap my shifts that day, let's go together. Having made plans with me, the look of guilt on Zhou Zixuan's face eased quite a bit. Not long after lying down, her breathing became steady and deep. And I lay with my back to her, eyes wide open in the darkness. staring at the blurred outline on the wall opposite me, at the digital calendar on the wall. Faint fluorescent light flickered as time ticked away in silence. The alumni reunion is on the 13th, and the 14th is when our divorce cooling-off period finally ends. This alumni reunion will probably be the last time Zhou Zixuan and I ever see each other. Perhaps because I was finally about to be set free, I actually felt a bit lighter. I even jokingly reminded her, in a way I hadn't in a long time. I've already made plans with Professor Chen, don't stand me up again. Zhou Zixuan didn't turn around, her voice thick with sleep. She mumbled in response, don't worry. I won't this time. Go to sleep. It was getting late, and the room fell back into silence. I offered a faint smile and didn't say anything more. I closed my eyes. Over the next few days, Zhou Zixuan didn't come back. She was probably busy with things at the hospital, or helping Sun Saiyu get over the shadow of his divorce. I seized the final moments to pack up my remaining personal belongings and sent them back to my parents' house. When the day of the reunion arrived, I specifically dug out the casual outfit I used to wear back in college. Although it hung a bit loose on me now, the style was still decent enough. I combed my hair to look as fresh as it did back then and grabbed that old camera I'd used for years, preparing to formally say goodbye to my hopeless love. Just as I was about to head out, the sound of a key turning in the lock echoed. Zhou Zixuan pushed the door open and walked in. I was caught off guard. This time, she had actually kept her word. We went downstairs together, and she drove. With the windows halfway down, the cool breeze of early autumn brushed against our cheeks. It had been a long time since I felt this way, not overthinking anything. Just sitting quietly in the wind. My mood was unexpectedly good. Zhou Zixuan seemed to be caught up in the relaxed atmosphere too, with a rare hint of a smile in her eyes. She even took the initiative to chat about some fun stories from our college days. The atmosphere was uncharacteristically harmonious, as if there had never been a third person between us. Soon, the car pulled up to the entrance of our alma mater. The familiar sycamore trees, the familiar red brick buildings. It pulled all my memories back many years. Zhou Zixuan unbuckled her seatbelt, her tone light and airy. Let's go. We'll walk around campus for a bit, reminisce about our youth, and then grab dinner with Professor Chen and the others later. Just as I reached to open the car door, the phone Zhou Zixuan had placed on the center console suddenly lit up. Immediately, that familiar ringtone shattered the harmony inside the car. She glanced down at the caller ID. It was Sun Saiyu. Her fingers froze, and a flicker of hesitation crossed her face. But it was only for a split second before she answered the call. I was sitting in the passenger seat, the door still closed. The cabin was small and quiet, and Sun Saiyu's voice on the other end, laced with tears, could be heard faintly. Zixuan, I tripped at home, and I think I twisted my ankle. It's so swollen, I can't even move it. It hurts so much. Can you come? Can you come see me? Zhou Zixuan's expression changed instantly. Leaning forward, her voice filled with unconcealed concern and anxiety. Is it serious? Don't move around. I'm coming over right now. She hung up the phone. She turned to look at me, her face full of apology and awkwardness. I'm sorry, Xiaoyu. She spoke very quickly. Saiyu twisted his ankle. It's pretty serious. I'm worried about him being home alone. I have to go over there. You go ahead and look around by yourself today, okay? I'll try my best to be back before dinner. Watching her anxious expression, my heart felt completely calm. I didn't even have the energy to feel disappointed. From the moment I heard Sun Saiyu's voice, I knew, once again, I had been abandoned by Zhou Zixuan. Fine, go ahead. I nodded and pushed the door open to get out of the car. My movements were clean and decisive. Zhou Zixuan didn't even say another word of apology. The car made a quick U-turn and merged into traffic. Vanishing from my sight, I was all alone, walking slowly along the familiar tree-lined campus paths. Before I knew it, I had walked through every place where I used to chase after Zhou Zixuan, the corner of the library she frequented, the bench on the lawn she loved to sit on, the plain tree-lined avenue she had to walk down after class, the back door of the gymnasium where I first gathered the courage to stop her and ask for her contact info, only to be flatly rejected. I captured all these places with my camera, one by one, to keep as a souvenir. Then, I went to the staff dormitory to visit Professor Chen. We talked for a long time, and it was really nice. The professor was still just as talkative and just as caring toward his students. But halfway through our chat, Professor Chen pushed up his glasses, looked at me closely, and furrowed his brow slightly. Xiaoyu, why do you look so pale? Have you been working too hard? Your health is the foundation of everything. You really shouldn't push yourself this hard. A warmth filled my heart. But there was also a sting of bitterness. Even a teacher I hadn't seen in years could tell at a glance that I was in such bad shape, but Zhou Zixuan, my own wife who is a doctor. When will you ever actually look at me properly? After having dinner with my teacher, I took a taxi home by myself. My phone vibrated on the way. I logged into my secondary account and refreshed my feed. Sure enough, Zhou Zixuan had posted an update. No caption, just a short video. I tapped on it. The video was a scene in Sun Saiyu's living room. His ankle was indeed swollen. He had an ice pack on it, and Zhou Zixuan's slender hands were holding a tube of ointment, applying it to him with extreme care. The camera panned, pointing toward herself, and she made a shush gesture at the lens. Then came the caption, asking the all-knowing circle of friends for a twisted ankle, besides icing and ointment. Are there any other good ways to relieve pain and speed up the swelling? Waiting online. It's pretty urgent. Pity pity. There were even 2 pitying emojis at the end of the text. In this moment, I recalled how a few days ago, Zhou Zixuan proactively offered to make it up to me, and all those cautious, tentative words she used. I couldn't help but let out a soft laugh. What's the point of it all now? Zhou Zixuan, in your heart. I never once beat Sun Saiyu. Not even once. I was always the option left for last. But, if you knew our marriage was about to come to a complete end, and knew that my life was reaching its final chapter, would you feel even the slightest bit of regret? This question was destined to never get a response from Zhou Zixuan, and I stopped caring about the answer a long time ago. As the car passed by the law firm, I asked the driver to wait a moment. I specifically went down there, and pushed open the door to Lawyer Zhang's office. He was organizing files and looked a bit surprised to see me. He quickly stood up. Mr. Yang, what brings you here? How is your health? I'm fine, I said, sitting down across from him. I got straight to the point. Lawyer Zhang, today is the last day of the 30-day cooling-off period for my divorce from Zhou Zixuan. I want to confirm something. Once it hits midnight tonight, does everything automatically take effect? Is there anything else that she or I need to do? Lawyer Zhang looked up, his eyes studying me carefully from behind his glasses. He seemed shocked by how thin and haggard I looked now. He paused for a few seconds before answering. Yes, Mr. Yang. According to the regulations, once the 30-day cooling-off period is up, if neither party has withdrawn the divorce application from the marriage registration office, then starting tomorrow, your marital relationship will be automatically dissolved. He paused, his tone becoming solemn and gentle. Congratulations on taking this new step. I hope that everything goes well for you in the future. For a terminal patient whose life is counting down, this was probably the most humble and yet most extravagant blessing. I thanked him sincerely. I left the law firm and got back into the car. Finally, the long and exhausting story between Zhou Zixuan and me was about to reach its end. This chapter, which took up the most effort in my life, though the ending was sloppy, at least it was over. By the afternoon of the next day, Zhou Zixuan still hadn't come back, and there was no news from her at all. I didn't mind. I exported all the photos I took at the school yesterday, and took them to the photo studio downstairs to be printed. After picking them up, I sat at my desk, picked up a pen, and wrote a few short words on the back of every single photo. Every photo was a key that opened the floodgates of memory. Those details I thought had long blurred were actually etched deep into my bones. Watching it all, I even feel a bit of admiration for my younger self. Finally, the waiting period for the divorce was coming to an end. Suddenly, I experienced the worst bout of vomiting blood since I fell ill, collapsing over the sink. I was throwing up so violently, everything went black before my eyes. It felt like I wouldn't stop until I coughed up my very insides. My body was in absolute agony. Yet, my soul seemed to be drifting away, leaving me with a strange, eerie sense of relief. After I finished, I didn't even have the strength to clean the sink. I could only turn on the faucet, letting the cold water wash away that glaring, bright red. I leaned against the wall, slowly shuffling back to the living room to set my camera to video mode. I wanted to leave a final message for Zhou Zixuan. Facing the cold lens, I tried to speak several times, but each time, I was interrupted by violent coughing, a gut-wrenching, tearing pain. I was coughing so hard my face was covered in involuntary tears. I probably looked as pale and ghastly as a ghost. Still, I persisted, and in fits and starts, I managed to finish what I wanted to say. Zhou Zixuan, as you can see, I am dying. I once counted on my fingers that this feeling of loving you actually occupied nearly half of my life. Thinking about it is truly incredible. I actually relied on this little bit of love to do so many foolish things. I gave it my all, I really tried. Truly, but I am sorry. I still wasn't able to walk into your heart. So, I am giving up. In the little time I have left, I am returning your freedom to you, letting you be with Sun Saiyu. Don't come looking for me. For these last few days, I want to be alone. Finally, Zhou Zixuan, happy divorce. I hope you get everything you wish for. At the end of the video, I forced what was likely a smile at the camera. Then, I pressed the stop button. The time was exactly midnight. I took out that divorce agreement, placed it together with the printed photos, and weighted them down with the camera. It felt like completing a solemn ritual. Looking around this house where I lived for 5 years, I whispered, goodbye, Zhou Zixuan, goodbye, Yang Xiaoyu. Then, I pulled open the door. I left without looking back. I booked a flight to my hometown's provincial capital. For the last bit of my life, I want to see my parents again and stay with them for a few days. And then, I will set off alone to complete my unfinished journey. In the taxi to the airport, I took out my phone. Blocked all of Zhou Zixuan's contact information, and then I called my parents. Mom, Dad, it's me. I have to go on a long business trip recently, so I might not be easy to reach. As for Zixuan, she lost her phone, so you can't reach her for now. If you need anything, just call my new number. That's right, she probably doesn't use that old WeChat account anymore, so you guys should just delete it. So she doesn't get bothered, I said in a calm voice, weaving a lie full of holes. My parents on the other end of the line seemed a bit puzzled. But in the end, they chose to believe their son. That's it then, cutting off every possible lead so I can leave in peace. Meanwhile, Zhou Zixuan had been taking care of Sun Saiyu at his place all night. It wasn't until dawn, when his ankle pain had eased a little, and he fell into a deep sleep, that she dragged her exhausted body away. Checking the time, it was almost noon. That's when it suddenly hit her, she'd stood me up again yesterday. On the way home, she gave me a call, wanting to apologize, wanting to explain, wanting to ask how the alumni reunion went. The number you have dialed is currently unavailable. Please try again later. She called over 20 times, but got the same cold automated response. Zhou Zixuan's grip on the steering wheel tightened. A sudden, unexplainable sense of unease rose in her heart. 5 years of marriage, and this was the first time she had been completely unable to reach me. She tried sending me a WeChat message, only to see an eye-catching red exclamation mark. Zhou Zixuan couldn't believe her eyes. She slammed on the brakes and pulled the car over to the side of the road. She checked over and over again. Yes, it was true. The phone wouldn't go through, she had been blocked on WeChat. Linking this to all my unusual behavior lately, suddenly dealing with our couple's items. Moving out early, my pale and haggard complexion, and that mention of the divorce cooling off period at the repair shop, a terrifying thought, shot up her spine like a cold viper. She started to panic, as if something incredibly important was spiraling completely out of control. She floored the gas pedal and the car practically raced back home. Pushing open the front door, she froze. In the living room, her things were all still there, exactly where they had been. But every single trace of me was gone. It was so clean, it was as if I'd never lived there at all. Zhou Zixuan's heart started pounding, threatening to burst out of her chest. She rushed into the bedroom and opened the closet. My side was completely empty. The study, the balcony, the bathroom. Everywhere she looked, there wasn't a shred of evidence that I had ever existed there. He really did move out. He moved everything out. No, what about the new place? Like someone clutching at a final straw, Zhou Zixuan rushed to that new apartment without a moment's rest and unlocked the door. It was completely empty inside, it didn't even have the most basic furniture. Just cold walls and floors, in the light filtering in from the window, shining with a pale glow. There were no signs that anyone had ever moved in. That house transfer, that moving. It was all a lie. Zhou Zixuan felt so panicked she could barely breathe. Her mind went completely blank, and a crushing sense of terror gripped her. She didn't even know how she got back to their old place, she just acted on pure instinct. She searched room after room, desperately hoping I might just be hiding somewhere, or that I had left some kind of clue behind, until she walked into the master bedroom again. Her gaze landed on the nightstand. There, resting silently, was a stack of photos, a camera, and a document. Seeing that familiar, old camera, the tightly wound nerves in Zhou Zixuan's mind miraculously began to relax. Thank goodness, this camera was his most prized possession. He used to say it was where his love for photography began, a gift from his mother. Since the camera was still here, he couldn't have gone far, right? Maybe he just went out to clear his head. Like a drowning person grabbing for a piece of driftwood, she hurried over, not even bothering to look at the document, and picked up the stack of photos first. They were taken at the school yesterday. She flipped through them one by one. They were all the places I had walked by myself yesterday. Looking at these familiar scenes, a complicated mix of emotions welled up inside her. There was guilt, and also a faint sense of nostalgia. Soon, she noticed the handwriting on the back of the photos, and she froze. Line after line, sentence after sentence. It was all about how clumsily I had loved her back then, how she had rejected me, and how I had suffered in silence. Zhou Zixuan had never imagined that behind her back, I had done so many foolish things for her, and shed so many tears. Seeing those faded memories resurface in such a way, a hardened part of her heart suddenly softened. Her eyes couldn't help but turn red. Remembering me in college, always silently following behind her, my eyes lighting up whenever I looked at her, she even unconsciously let a bittersweet smile touch her lips. "You fool," she whispered, then put the photos down. Filled with a complex mix of guilt and anticipation, she picked up the camera. She wanted to see if there were any more photos of her inside. Or maybe something else. She pressed the power button. The camera screen lit up. The last video file was labeled untitled, recorded late last night. Her heart gave a sudden jolt, and her fingers trembled as she hit play. What appeared on the screen was my face, looking deathly ill. Zhou Zixuan's heart, the moment she saw my face clearly, gave a sharp, spasming pain. As a doctor, she knew all too well what that complexion meant. When did you get sick? She blurted out. Her voice was trembling uncontrollably. In the video, I seemed unable to hear her gasp. I just looked into the lens and began to speak, haltingly. Zhou Zixuan, as you can see, I have a terminal illness. My life is already counting down. I've counted the days over and over again on my fingers. Do you know? Before I even realized it, my love for you had already taken up most of my life. What kind of feeling is this? Looking back now, I still find it beautiful. Just by holding on to this love for you, how many times have I gone all out, giving it my everything? I tried my best, but I still couldn't find a way into your heart. So, in the end, I chose to give up. In the little time I have left, I'm setting you free and fulfilling your deep devotion to Sun Sayu. One last thing I want to tell you, don't come looking for me. For these final few days, I want to live for myself. In the video, I'm coughing and vomiting blood, curled up in agony. Yet I'm still insisting on saying, Zhou Zixuan, happy divorce. A month ago, I signed the divorce papers and you signed them too. Today is the last day of our cooling off period. Our marriage is now dissolved. I hope you and Sun Sayu will have a happy ending. Maybe you don't care about me, but I still have to tell you, do not come looking for me. I don't have many days left to live. In these final days, I don't want to see you. Every single word was crystal clear, like 10,000 white-hot steel needles, piercing straight into Zhou Zixuan's heart, the pain draining all her strength in an instant. Her breathing stopped, and her mind went completely blank. The divorce agreement, she signed it? When on earth did I sign it? Zhou Zixuan's eyes widened, her face as pale as paper. She was so devastated by this sudden truth that she felt like her soul had left her body. Impossible. How could she have signed a divorce agreement? She never even knew I wanted a divorce. Overwhelmed by shock and panic, her hand shook. And the camera fell to the floor with a crash, its screen shattering instantly. The sound snapped Zhou Zixuan out of her daze. Her gaze, finally, mechanically, shifted to the bedside table, to that document she had ignored all along. A craft paper envelope, it looked somewhat familiar. She reached out with trembling hands, picked it up, and opened it. On the front page, 4 bold black characters stood out, divorce agreement. And on the very last page, in the signature section, besides the familiar name of Yang Xiaoyu next to it, was her own handwriting. When could this have happened? Zhou Zixuan was completely stunned. Her voice broke, unable to hold a steady note. Her heart felt as if it had been hollowed out, leaving only a gaping, wind-whistling black hole. The first day the cooling-off period took effect. Wasn't that the day she went to the movies with Sun Sayu? That day, she did indeed run into me at the hospital, and I did hand her a contract to sign. I told her it was for a property transfer at the time. Scene after scene of ignored details came rushing back like a tidal wave. I had her sign it at the hospital, but I deliberately only flipped to the last page while Director Liu entrusted her to take something down to a patient, sending over my terminal illness records and the waiver of assets, yet it was me who ended up picking them up in the end. And over these past 30 days, I grew paler and weaker by the day. Yet I always brushed it off, saying I was doing just fine, all those scattered pieces. At this very moment, we're cruelly strung together by these 2 threads, terminal illness and divorce. Stitching together a truth she simply could not bear. I should have realized it sooner. Zhou Zixuan's knees gave out, and she collapsed onto the cold floor, tears streaming down like a breaking dam. Her heart felt like it was being viciously torn by an invisible hand, the pain so sharp she could barely breathe. It all made sense to her now. This past month, I had known all along that I was dying. I meticulously spun a lie about transferring property, tricked her into signing the divorce papers, and then used my final moments to wipe away every trace of myself, to quietly and completely vanish from her world. Yang Xiaoyu, how could you not tell me? Zhou Zixuan sobbed uncontrollably, all the emotions in her heart erupting at once, nearly swallowing her whole. But soon, her remaining reason and her instincts as a doctor forced her to pull herself together. She couldn't fall apart. Yang Xiaoyu was sick. He was terribly ill. Where could he possibly go all by himself? She scrambled up from the floor, not even bothering to wipe her tears, grabbed her car keys, and dashed out of the house, racing straight for the hospital. Dr. Liu, that day Yang Xiaoyu went to see you. You must know about his condition. You must know what's going on. Zhou Zixuan burst into Dr. Liu's office regardless of the consequences. The door slammed against the wall with a deafening crash. Other doctors in the office were busy discussing cases and were shocked by the sight of her, her eyes bloodshot and wide. Dr. Liu looked up, saw it was her, and frowned. Xiao Zhou, what's gotten into you? Dr. Lu, Zhou Zixuan rushed to his desk, gripped the edge of the table with both hands, her body still shaking uncontrollably. Her voice was hoarse and broken. Yang Xiaoyu's illness. Had you known about it all along? His terminal diagnosis? Why didn't you tell me? Yang Xiaoyu. Dr. Lu froze for a second before realization dawned on him. You mean that Mr. Yang? He is indeed my patient. I remember him quite well, he always came to his appointments alone. His condition wasn't good. What's going on? You know him? Zhou Zixuan's composure completely shattered. She shrieked, why did even you keep this from me? Why was he so incredibly sick, and not one of you told me? I'm his wife. The last words. She cried out with such agony, his wife. Dr. Lu's eyes went wide with shock. The pen in his hand clattered onto the desk. He stood up abruptly, his face filled with sheer disbelief. Xiao Zhou, what are you saying? Yang Xiaoyu is your husband? Aren't you still unmarried? Isn't your boyfriend that young man who came to our department dinner that day? At that moment, Zhou Zixuan felt as if she'd been struck by lightning. After 5 years of marriage, here at the hospital, in front of all her colleagues and friends, she had always maintained the persona of being single. She had never once made her marriage public. Even she had almost forgotten the fact that I was her husband. As the cruel and ironic reason hit her, Zhou Zixuan felt as if the bones had been drained from her body. She stumbled back 2 steps, catching herself on a chair to keep from collapsing. Her anger was replaced by a deeper sense of despair and regret. Yes, he is my husband. We have been married for 5 years. She lowered her head. Huge tears splashed onto the floor, her voice barely a whisper. I'm sorry, Director Lu. I was just too emotional. Director Lu looked at her state, and putting that together with what she just said, along with some rumors he'd heard before, he had a pretty good idea of what was going on. He sighed and waved his hand, signaling the other doctors to step out. Once only the 2 of them were left in the office, Director Lu spoke with a complicated tone, Xiao Zhou, don't rush into things, try to calm down. Yang Xiaoyu's condition is indeed very grim. He is very resistant to active treatment and is in a very dark place mentally. Besides, he mentioned to me that he is in the middle of a divorce with his wife. Director Lu paused, looking at Zhou Zixuan's pale face. Some words reached the tip of his tongue, but he swallowed them back. In the end, he simply said, is there some kind of misunderstanding between you two? In his current condition, he needs someone by his side. Misunderstanding? She let out a bitter, hollow laugh and shook her head. The tears flowed even harder. No, there is no misunderstanding. It's me. I'm the one who lost him. I can't find him anymore. He blocked me on everything. He's gone. Director Lu remembered Sun Saiyu, who had been acting quite intimate with Zhou Zixuan at the department dinner, and recalled the gray, indifferent look in Yang Xiaoyu's eyes every time he visited the hospital. He could roughly piece together the outline of a sad story, so he couldn't say much more. He could only offer comfort, don't panic yet. Think carefully. You are the person closest to him. There must be a way to reach him. As for his illness, maybe in these final days he would want to be near his family. Family? Zhou Zixuan looked up abruptly, as if she had grabbed onto something. Most patients in the final stages of a terminal illness eventually choose to return to their parents. But as soon as that thought arose, a deeper sense of pain and helplessness drowned her in the next second. Because she realized with sorrow that, after 5 years of marriage, she didn't even have any of my friends' contact information, nor did she know the specific address of my hometown. She had never cared enough to even remember my parents' names or phone numbers, let alone write them down. What kind of wife had she been? How ridiculous, how pathetic I've become. On my own, she'll never be able to find me. In total despair, Zhou Zixuan could only beg Director Lu once more. Like grasping at a final straw, she cried, Director Lu, please, you have to help me. You're his attending physician, you must have his contact information, right? Please tell me, I have to go find him. I have to find him. Watching Zhou Zixuan beg so desperately, Director Lu felt for her, but still shook his head firmly. Little Zhou, it's not that I don't want to help you. This is patient privacy. The hospital has strict regulations. I cannot disclose a patient's contact information. It's against the rules, and it goes against my professional ethics. Zhou Zixuan understood the hospital rules, of course, but she had run out of options. With a thud, she dropped to her knees right in front of Director Lu. Director Lu, I'm begging you, I know the rules, but I really have no other way. He's so sick, and he's out there all by himself. What if something happens to him? Please, I'm begging you to help me. Even if you just pass on a message for me, just tell him I'm looking for him. Please. Director Lu was startled by her actions. He quickly pulled her up, looking at Zhou Zixuan's complete breakdown, and thinking of my own precarious physical condition as a doctor. And as an elder, his heart finally softened. Get up first. Director Lu sighed heavily. Regulations are set in stone. How about this? I can try to reach out to him and pass your message along. But whether he chooses to reply or reach out to you, I cannot guarantee. Zhou Zixuan acted as if she had heard a miracle. She stopped crying instantly, her eyes sparkling with a glimmer of hope. She nodded repeatedly, okay. Thank you, Director Liu. Thank you. She immediately took out her phone, carefully weighing every word, and drafted a long message to send to Director Liu. It was filled with her apologies, her regrets, her explanations, and her desperate pleas, begging me to tell her where I was, begging me to let her come back to my side. Director Liu forwarded this message to me right in front of her. Then followed a long, agonizing wait. Zhou Zixuan went home, staring at her phone without blinking, refreshing it every few seconds, hoping for a message from Director Liu or a reply from me. She waited until evening and finally, the phone rang. It was Director Liu. Zhou Zixuan's heart pounded wildly. Her fingers trembled as she opened the message. There was no text, only a screenshot. In the screenshot, it was the chat window between Director Liu and me, where she had sent a long, lengthy message. My reply. Too long, didn't read. Do not disturb, ex-wife. Those 8 simple words, like 6 icy blades, instantly shattered the flicker of hope that had just risen in Zhou Zixuan's heart. She felt as if she had been thrown into an ice cellar, chilled from the top of her head down to her toes. Even her breath felt filled with shards of ice as Zhou Zixuan collapsed onto the sofa. It took a long time before she seemed to regain even a shred of strength. Unwilling to give up, she let her trembling fingers start typing a new message in the chat window between Director Liu and me. It was another long-winded draft, but as she wrote, she deleted it all again. In a fit of frustration, she threw her phone aside. She curled up on the sofa, feeling completely lost and drained of all energy. But soon, she sat up abruptly and rushed into the bedroom. She found the camera I had left behind with its shattered screen. Luckily, the memory card still worked. She transferred the videos inside onto her computer, and then played them over and over, watching me vomit blood, coughing, and looking utterly miserable. Her heart ached beyond measure as her fingers unconsciously brushed against the cold screen, as if she wanted to reach through the glass to caress my face and wipe away the blood for me, but all her fingertips felt was the hard, icy cold of the monitor glass. She pulled her hand back. She watched in silence, repeatedly, until finally, she heard it in the video. The line where I said, I'm fulfilling your devotion to Sun Sayu. Zhou Zixuan held her breath in tension, her heart racing with an indescribable panic. But when on earth did he find out? I always thought I hid it so well. At the very least, in front of Yang Xiaoyu, I kept my distance as much as I could. She recalled in a panic. The memory finally locked onto the day she and I went downstairs for a walk. We ran into Sun Sayu, and that day she had gone to the kitchen to make tea. I had been alone with Sun Sayu for a few minutes. Could it have been that day? Did Sun Sayu say something to him? But that day was already near the end of the divorce cooling-off period. Even if he knew something, it would have been impossible for him to prepare the divorce agreement that far in advance and anticipate everything. Zhou Zixuan desperately pushed her memory further back to over a month ago. That day, I was at the hospital for a follow-up and ran into her, tricking her into signing that property contract. But even that day, I had already prepared the divorce agreement. This meant, my resolve to leave her had been set. Even earlier. When, exactly, was it? Zhou Zixuan recalled her days with me one by one. Most of the time, things were as calm as still water. Nothing special, with only one exception. It was probably about a month before I tricked her into signing. That day, because Sun Sayu had just gotten divorced and was feeling down, she asked Sun Sayu out to drink, and both of them got dead drunk. In the end, she barely managed to get Sun Sayu home before stumbling back on her own. That night, did I drink too much and say something I shouldn't have, or spill some secret feelings about Sun Sayu? At the thought of this, Zhou Zixuan's heart skipped several beats. Her face turned paper white in an instant. That night, she didn't sleep at all, playing back the events of these past years, over and over in her mind like a movie. For the first 20-some years of her life, her world really did revolve only around Sun Sayu. She truly, deeply loved him so much that, because he said he wanted to be a doctor, she studied her heart out and got into medical school. But later, Sun Sayu got married. The bride wasn't her. It took her a long time to barely accept that fact and force herself to bury that affection deep inside. From then on, she only treated him as a younger brother, a childhood friend. Later, she met me. We've been married for 5 years, and the shadow of Sun Sayu in her heart had actually started to fade. Yet I hadn't truly walked into her heart either. Having known me for so many years, she always had a complex mix of feelings for me, but the one thing missing was that heart-fluttering, true love. She thought a marriage could survive without love, held together by duty and habit. She chose me, and part of the reason was indeed a sense of compensation. She wanted to compensate for her younger self who hadn't gotten the love she wanted. She wanted to give me a happy ending. As if by doing so, she could heal the regrets of her own past. But she was too naive. Getting what you didn't really want can sometimes be more desperate and painful than not getting the one you love. And this marriage of hers, built on compensation, was doomed to hurt both of us from the very start. After the wedding, facing my burning love and facing the void and guilt in her own heart. For being unable to return that love, Zhou Zixuan felt an unprecedented pressure and suffocation. She subconsciously wanted to escape, so she insisted on keeping the marriage a secret. It was as if, as long as it wasn't public, the marriage hadn't truly begun. This way, she could keep a shred of herself, a way out. I agreed, and I agreed without hesitation. And so, Zhou Zixuan, with a mindset of escapism and wishful thinking, blindly and selfishly, stepped into the walled city of marriage. In truth, over these 5 years of marriage, she never once initiated contact with Sun Saiyu. Every interaction came from their shared social circle, from inevitable gatherings big and small. Every time she saw Sun Saiyu and felt conflicted, she would write something like a diary entry, but she never intended for anyone to see them. It was more of a way to vent, a ritual to say goodbye to the past. And a reminder for the present, a reminder to herself, that there is someone by her side worth cherishing, that it's time to let go. It was never a simple matter, being childhood sweethearts for over a decade. Some kinds of care and concern have long since become an instinct, etched deep into her very bones. Her gaze would unconsciously follow his figure, and her tone would naturally soften whenever she spoke to him. Even though she knew it was impossible, she sincerely hoped he could find happiness. That is why, when Sun Saiyu hit rock bottom, she couldn't help but reach out to care for him and stay by his side. Hoping he would pull himself together soon, she attributed all these actions to the responsibilities of a friend and an older sister, these deeply hidden feelings and inner turmoil. She had never revealed them to anyone, she thought she had kept them flawlessly hidden. But she forgot, she had me by her side. A person who treated her as my entire world, watching her every moment. And sensitive to even the slightest shift in her mood. And so, her secrets had long been laid bare, those actions of hers that she thought were so open and honest, in the eyes of Yang Xiaoyu, became sharp blades that wounded me. Time and time again, they pushed me into an abyss of despair. It wasn't until this sudden divorce struck, until she saw that signed agreement and the medical report confirming the terminal illness, that Zhou Zixuan finally realized, far too late, that she had been exposed all along. But what she found impossible to accept in that moment was not just my tricking her into signing, but my absolute silence toward her. Being so gravely ill, yet refusing to say a single word to her until the very end of my life. And the massive lie I spun, using the excuse of a property transfer, to trick her into signing divorce papers. Then there was my cold, heartless resolution, leaving without a word, blocking her on everything, not even leaving her a chance to ask me to stay. But what made her the most furious and miserable was herself. She hated herself for being a doctor, yet failing to notice her husband's condition sooner. She hated herself for being a wife, yet never truly caring about her husband's health or feelings. She hated herself for why, only after she had truly lost everything, did she finally wake up and realize what I actually meant to her. Those 1,800 plus days and nights of being together, I had already, like the very air, silently permeated every crack and crevice of her life. She had long grown accustomed to my presence, accustomed to my care, accustomed to my tolerance, and even accustomed to my unconditional love. She enjoyed all of this, yet foolishly believed that it was just habit, not love. Only when I vanished completely, pulling the air out of her life, did she feel a suffocating agony, and only then did she belatedly discover that her heart had long ago made its choice for her. From the moment we received our marriage certificate, from the moment she decided to spend the rest of her life with me, it had already become an inseparable part of her existence. It wasn't that she didn't love me. It was just that this love came too late, buried too deep beneath her own foolishness and selfishness. 2 days later, Zhou Zixuan had exhausted every method she could possibly think of. Yet she still couldn't reach me, nor could she track down a single trace of my whereabouts. Thinking of my life, as fragile as a candle in the wind, the panic in her heart grew day by day. She lived in fear that she would never see me again, and that even a final goodbye had become a luxury she couldn't afford. Zhou Zixuan had finally turned all her attention toward me. Sun Saiyu had reached out to her many times these past few days, trying to check on how she was doing, but she had ignored him completely. It wasn't until a worried Sun Saiyu showed up at her door that he saw Zhou Zixuan looking absolutely haggard, barely recognizable. Her eyes were swollen like peaches, and her dark circles were thick and heavy, as if she hadn't closed her eyes in days. Zixuan Jia, what on earth is wrong? What happened? Sun Saiyu was terrified by her appearance. At this point, Zhou Zixuan looked at Sun Saiyu with a heart full of complicated, conflicting emotions. She realized everything now. It was precisely because of her hesitation, her indecisiveness, that she had deeply hurt both men. She couldn't keep dragging this out, she had to make everything clear. Sayu, Zhou Zixuan began, her voice raspy and dry. I admit it, I really did like you a lot before. I liked you for many years. Sun Sayu was stunned, he hadn't expected her to bring this up so suddenly. But Zhou Zixuan took a deep breath, looking straight into his eyes, her tone clearer and firmer than ever before. That's all in the past. Now, I only see you as a younger brother, as my best friend. The reason I ignored you these past few days is because of Yang Xiaoyu. Hearing my name, her voice began to tremble again, and her eyes instantly turned red. I lost him, I hurt him, he doesn't want me anymore. Sun Sayu seemed to realize something, his expression tightening. Brother Xiaoyu, what exactly is your relationship? Zhou Zixuan didn't hesitate, she answered every word clearly. He is my husband. We have been secretly married for 5 years. What? Sun Sayu stumbled back in shock, his face filled with disbelief. You're a married couple? Then the ex-wife Xiaoyu Ji mentioned, who was pushing for a divorce. Is actually you? In that moment, Sun Sayu finally understood everything. He was too shocked to speak. Then, a boundless sense of regret and guilt surged within him. So, that strange gut feeling he had wasn't a hallucination at all. And he, without even knowing it, had become the third party interfering in someone else's marriage. He should have realized it sooner. Zhou Zixuan's attitude toward me, the way I looked at Zhou Zixuan. There were so many details. What made him unable to forgive himself even more was that he had actually gone on and on in front of me about his past with Zhou Zixuan. He even asked me that damn question. Wasn't that just rubbing salt into my raw, bleeding wound? He had just gone through a divorce himself. He knew all too well what the pain of betrayal felt like. He couldn't believe that he had, unknowingly, become such a jerk's accomplice, and perhaps was even the final straw that drove me away. Why did you hide all of this? Sun Sayu was losing control of his emotions, filled with both anger and self-reproach. This is completely unfair to Xiaoyu Ji. Do you have any idea how cruel this is to him? I'm truly sorry. It's all my fault. Zhou Zixuan hung her head low. Tears came flooding out again. She had known she was wrong all along. But I didn't even give her a chance to apologize. You're not the one I should be apologizing to. It's Xiaoyu. Sun Sayu's expression turned cold. His tone was sterner than she had ever heard before. Zhou Zixuan, you know why I got divorced. My ex-wife had someone else in her heart too. I understand that feeling all too well. This is a devastating blow to Xiaoyu. It's a betrayal. Zhou Zixuan cried even harder, her body trembling, on the verge of collapsing. I understand. I should have understood it a long time ago. But now, I can't reach him. He refuses to see me. He won't give me a chance to apologize. That's not true. Sun Sayu cut her off, his eyes sharp. You've been married for 5 years. If you had cared about him even just a little bit, it would be impossible for you to be unable to find him. He took a deep breath, his voice heavy and blunt. Maybe it's not that Xiaoyu is becoming more and more ruthless, but that the problem lies with you, Zhou Zixuan. You really need to think about it. Perhaps over these past 5 years, you never truly saw him as your husband, nor treated him with sincerity. That's why you know nothing about him. Zhou Zixuan's eyes were filled with endless regret and pain. She remained silent, letting her tears flow. Watching Zhou Zixuan collapse into silence, Sun Sayu's anger and accusations finally faded into a heavy sigh. Think about it carefully. You are husband and wife. It is impossible that you cannot find him at all. Hurry up and don't let Xiaoyu wait for too long. With that, Sun Sayu turned around and left without hesitation. Without a hint of looking back, Zhou Zixuan clutched her head, crouching on the floor as tears soaked the carpet. 3 days later, this is the 5th day since I left. Zhou Zixuan felt like she was going crazy. During this time, she searched everywhere for anyone who might know my whereabouts, my colleagues, my neighbors, and even tried to contact my parents. She found nothing. She even began to think in despair. What if Yang Xiaoyu is already gone? The moment that thought crossed her mind, she ruthlessly pushed it away. It immediately brought a more overwhelming sense of fear. She didn't dare to imagine what she would do if, by the time she found me, we were already separated by life and death. She would never be able to forgive herself for the rest of her life. But extreme despair ended up forcing out a glimmer of clarity. Zhou Zixuan went to consult a lawyer, and the response she received gave her a faint ray of hope. The lawyer told her that it was true the marriage would be automatically dissolved after the cooling-off period ended. But to actually collect the divorce certificate and complete the legal procedures it requires, both parties need to go to the marriage registration office together. If one side refuses to show up, the other can file for divorce in court, but that takes time. So, as long as she doesn't go to get the divorce certificate, or if I can't find her to get it done, then legally speaking, she and I aren't completely finished yet. I still might have to come back and find her because I need that certificate. With a plan forming in her mind, Zhou Zixuan felt a renewed sense of strength. She immediately ran to the hospital and found Director Liu. Director Liu, please, help me one more time. Help me tell Yang Xiaoyu that I agree to the divorce. But he has to come back so we can go to the Civil Affairs Bureau together to get the certificate. Otherwise, I can't be with Sun Xiaoyu. Lately, Director Liu has been keeping in touch with me, mainly to check on my condition, while also subtly relaying Zhou Zixuan's anxiety and remorse. Hearing her say this now, Director Liu could hardly believe his ears. Xiao Zhou, have you really thought this through? You're choosing Sun Xiaoyu, and just like that, you're giving up on the husband you've shared your life with for 5 years? He is, after all. Director Liu didn't finish his sentence, but the implication was clear. No, that's not it. Zhou Zixuan shook her head frantically. Her tone was urgent and humble. Director Liu, you've misunderstood. I've tried so many ways. But I can't reach Xiaoyu. This is the only excuse. That might trick him into coming back. I've already made it clear to Sun Xiaoyu that we are just friends. The person I love has always been Xiaoyu. I beg you, help me one last time. Let me see him just once so I can explain everything to him in person. Please? Director Liu looked at Zhou Zixuan, haggard and worn out, yet with such determined eyes. Thinking about her struggle these past few days, he finally believed in her sincerity. He sighed and agreed to help. On the other side, I had finished packing a small bag back at my hometown and was just about to set off to complete the farewell journey I had planned for the end of my life. These past few days, I spent time with my parents, trying my best to keep them happy. They had vaguely sensed that my health wasn't good, but with my vague explanations, they just assumed I was exhausted from work and needed to recover. Although they were reluctant to let me go, they still respected my choice, only repeatedly urging me to take good care of myself. I had just arrived at the train station when my phone rang. It was a message from Director Liu. Xiaoyu, Dr. Zhou asked me to pass on that she agrees to the divorce. But she insists that you need to return in person, so that both of you can go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get the certificate and legally end this marriage. She said otherwise she can't start a new life with Sun Xiaoyu. I read the message and froze for a moment. Then it all made sense. So, she's in such a rush to get the divorce certificate just so she can be with Sun Xiaoyu as soon as possible. Fine by me. I have to go back there eventually. I need to settle all the paperwork properly and let her go for good. It'll bring me some closure too. I don't feel heartbroken anymore. Just a sense of relief, like everything has finally settled. However, I really don't want to see them again. About the divorce papers, I specifically called Attorney Zhang to double-check. After getting his confirmation, I hung up, feeling helpless. Oh well, I might as well go back and make a clean break of it. I cancelled my original ticket and rebooked a train to Haicheng. It's worth mentioning that my life seems to be a bit more resilient than the doctors first predicted. I've already passed that 1-month mark they gave me. My condition is even a little better than when I was in the hospital. Although I'm still weak, at least I've stopped coughing up blood so often. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because after the divorce, that heavy weight on my heart is finally gone. I feel much lighter now. 6 or 7 hours later, the train arrived in Haicheng. Li Feng came to pick me up. The moment he saw me, he looked me over in surprise. You look better than last time. What's going on? Don't tell me it was a misdiagnosis? I smiled, pulled the car door open, and sat inside. How could that be? Since when are terminal illnesses misdiagnosed? Maybe it's just that lately I've been feeling more relaxed. Your heart shows on your face, I guess. Then why come back to see her now? Li Feng started the car, asking with a puzzled look. Why not take advantage of this good streak and go enjoy your life? Travel the world? Just settling some paperwork. Once it's done, I'm out. I buckled my seatbelt, my tone flat. But how come she suddenly agreed to the divorce so easily this time? I heard she was acting like a madwoman looking for you everywhere a while ago, Li Feng gossiped while driving. Because I watched the street scenery fly backward past the window. My voice calm and steady. She's getting married to Sun Xiaoyu. She needs the divorce certificate. What? Li Feng jerked the steering wheel, almost sideswiping the car next to us. He was so angry his face turned red. That woman, she still has that guy in her heart after all this time? Xiaoyu, if you ask me, just don't go. Forget about her. She's not worth you making this trip. But I didn't care anymore. I smiled. It's better to go back before I leave for good. I don't want to owe her anything anymore, and I don't want any more entanglements. A clean break. It'll give me some peace of mind. Not long after getting in the car, I received a message from Director Liu. He asked if I was back in Haicheng and suggested I return to the hospital for a follow-up. But I didn't agree to it. He already knows about my relationship with Zhou Zixuan now. I don't even have to think about it. Zhou Zixuan is definitely waiting for me at the hospital. Please do me a favor and tell Zhou Zixuan, tomorrow morning at 9 See me at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Let's make this quick. I don't have much time. When the message was sent, Zhou Zixuan was right by Director Lu's side, never leaving her. At that moment, all her anticipation and joy vanished in an instant. The disappointment almost made her unable to breathe, but Director Lu had already helped her so much. Zhou Zixuan didn't lose heart. She immediately replied, agreeing to meet tomorrow. Then, she rushed home right away. During this time, she didn't just sit around. She carefully reviewed every detail of our 5 years of marriage. Relying on her memory and the photos I had sent her back then, she searched the internet as hard as she could for the exact items. She bought back the couple's belongings and home decorations that I had sold off or moved away. She restored the old place as much as possible to the way it looked when I was there. She even prepared some surprises for me at home. A handwritten letter of apology and meals she clumsily tried to cook. She even took an extended leave from the hospital, planning that during this final time I had left, she would stay by my side and take care of me, never leaving me. The next day, I waited on time at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Zhou Zixuan arrived late, but her hands were empty. She hadn't brought anything. In that instant, I knew she didn't come to get a divorce. You asked me to come here to get a divorce certificate, and yet you didn't bring anything? My tone was full of impatience, as cold and indifferent as she used to be toward me. You know I don't have much time to waste. Zhou Zixuan's heart was pierced sharply by my icy words. It hurt so much she trembled. She hadn't expected that the moment we met, my first words would be about divorce. And that it was just a waste of time. Looking at my current state, although I was still gaunt and pale, and one could tell at a glance that I was a sick man. Compared to the wretched state she saw in the videos I left behind, I was already much better. Zhou Zixuan's heart was incredibly conflicted. Could a divorce actually be a relief and a cure for someone like me, a terminal patient? Xiao Yu, how have you been these past few days? She looked at me and asked, cautiously. As you can see, I tugged at the corner of my mouth, revealing a smile devoid of warmth. I feel much better after the divorce. My words felt like a giant rock, smashing heavily right into the center of Zhou Zixuan's heart, leaving all the words she had prepared for days stuck in her throat. She couldn't get a single word out. She wanted so badly to rush over and hug me, to tell me she was wrong and that she loved me, and to beg me not to leave. But even though we were standing right in front of each other, the distance between our hearts felt like an unbridgeable chasm. I forgot to bring the household registration book and my ID card. Zhou Zixuan lowered her head, her voice very soft, carrying a trace of an imperceptible tremor. Will you accompany me back to get them? Please? Zhou Zixuan, we aren't children anymore. I frowned, my tone carrying a faint mockery. That excuse is too clumsy. What kind of games are you trying to play now? Just say it straight. I don't have time to play games with you. Seeing my cold and distant demeanor, Zhou Zixuan felt a crushing pain in her heart. She felt like she'd lost all her options and had to give up all the surprises she'd carefully prepared. In the clumsiest yet most genuine way, she spoke cautiously. No, it's not an excuse. I really couldn't find them, all these years. You've always been the one organizing and keeping track of all the important documents at home. I don't know where you put them. Could you go back and help me look? Please? That sentence of hers wasn't entirely a lie. Over the years, I've handled every trivial household task. She doesn't even know how to pay the utility bills. Seeing her reddened eyes and that pleading look on her face, my heart finally softened just a tiny bit. Fine, just consider it one last favor for her. Let's go. I turned toward the curb to hail a cab, and Zhou Zixuan hurried to keep up. I've got my car here. Let me drive you. I glanced at her and didn't object. The atmosphere in the car was suffocating. Zhou Zixuan couldn't stand the deathly silence. She took a deep breath and took the initiative to break the quiet. Xiao Yu, during this time, have you been going to the hospital for your checkups? Are you taking your medicine? She asked, her voice filled with undisguised worry. That's none of your business, ex-wife. I didn't look at her, keeping my gaze fixed on the street scenery rushing by outside the window. Her sense of loss and sadness was practically overflowing. Xiao Yu, her fingers tightened on the steering wheel, her voice trembling slightly. I've consulted a lawyer. After the divorce cooling off period ends, the marriage is automatically dissolved, but to actually get the divorce certificate, to fully complete the legal process, both parties need to be present. If I don't go, or if you can't find me, the divorce won't be truly finalized. She paused, watching my reaction in the rearview mirror before continuing, I can choose not to go. I raised an eyebrow in surprise and turned to look at her. Zhou Zixuan, there's no point in us staying entangled like this. You have your son Saiyu waiting for you, and I want to live for myself for the rest of my life. We're not on the same path anymore. My tone was calm, even carrying a hint of exhausted relief. Regarding the marital property, I already signed a statement voluntarily waiving my rights. It's all yours. What else could you possibly be dissatisfied with? Why keep holding on to me? It's not because of any of that. Zhou Zixuan shook her head violently, her eyes welling up again. She intentionally slowed the car down, her gaze falling on me every now and then. Her eyes were full of struggle and pain. I'm not trying to pester you. I can't accept it, she said, her voice choking up. I can't accept that you won't give me a chance to explain. I can't accept that you won't give me a chance to show you how I feel. I refuse to accept that you just walked out without saying goodbye, without giving me any chance to make you stay. 3. I refuse to accept. It sounds like an accusation. It also sounds like a pathetic plea for one more chance, but I'm no longer moved by those words. Save those lines for Sun Sayu. With just one sentence, I backed Zhou Zixuan into a corner again. She was momentarily lost for words, unable to understand why I had become so cold-hearted. Clearly, the Yang Xiaoyu of the past used to value her more than his own life. Xiaoyu, don't you understand what I mean? Her voice went up an octave in desperation. I don't want a divorce. I want to make it work. I want to start over with you. Can we get back together? Start over? How easily she says that. A single, airy sentence, and she thinks she can just wipe away 5 years of me groveling like dirt? Wipe away the pain and despair that nearly cost me my life? But I still don't get it. Sun Sayu is single again, and she and I are about to go our separate ways for good. Isn't this exactly the opportunity she's been dreaming of? Why, at this very moment, would she turn around and say she wants to get back together? My silence made Zhou Zixuan inexplicably flustered. Stop not saying anything. Are you still thinking about Sun Sayu? Zhou Zixuan's eyes reddened, her tone panicked. Xiaoyu, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have hurt you again and again because of someone from the past. I hope you can forgive me. Give me a chance to make it up to you, please? No, why the sudden apology? This doesn't sound like the Zhou Zixuan I know. When has she ever been this humble? This I'm sorry, I waited 5 years for it and never got it. Now that we're divorcing, what's the point of saying it? I smiled, a look filled with exhaustion and distance. I will forgive you once we've officially finished the divorce paperwork. At those words, Zhou Zixuan opened her mouth. Speechless once again, it was as if all the strength had been drained out of her in an instant. She looked as lost and lonely as a child who had lost their way. Xiaoyu, must we really get a divorce? Her voice was barely a whisper. It carried a pathetic, desperate plea. I really don't want to. There's no need for this, I sighed. My tone softening a little, but remaining firm. After 5 years together, I just hope we can give each other a somewhat decent ending. I'm letting you go to your happy ever after with Sun Sayu. You should let me go, too, to have this final bit of peace and freedom. Right now, I only have one thought. Finish the paperwork as quickly as possible. Make a clean break and then leave. My time is running out. There are so many things I want to experience on my own. I don't have the energy to sit here and listen to Zhou Zixuan's pale, empty repentance. No, I won't. Zhou Zixuan suddenly raised her voice, on the verge of tears. Xiaoyu, I was lying to you. Actually, I'm not going to marry Sun Sayu. I've already made everything clear to him. I did like him in the past. But ever since he got married, I've only ever thought of him as a younger brother. You're the one I like now. You've already found your way into my heart. Can you please stop leaving me? Zhou Zi finally found her chance to pour out all her true feelings at once. But I wasn't buying it. My history with Zhou Zixuan is long and painful, like a damp, freezing nightmare. Now that I've finally struggled my way out of it, covered in scars, she thinks a few simple words are enough to make me go back? Not happening. Zhou Zixuan, I said, turning my head to look straight into her eyes, my tone calm but cruel. As far as I'm concerned, you've lost all credibility. That simple sentence, to Zhou Zixuan, was a devastating blow. I used to believe every word she said without reservation, every look in her eyes, every promise she made. Now, she's the one who destroyed that trust with her own hands, wearing down every bit of expectation and love I had for her. Zhou Zixuan's heart was torn with pain, though being rejected by me was an outcome she had already anticipated. She wasn't ready to give up. Oh, she wasn't ready to give up. She took a deep breath and spoke again. Her tone was desperate, like someone burning their bridges behind them. Xiaoyu, I know I've broken your heart, but could you please just give me one chance? Let me make it up to you, slowly. I'll prove it to you with my actions that I love you. I truly love you. Once the divorce is finalized. I looked away, my tone impatient. However you want to prove it, or whoever you want to prove it to. I'm not stopping you. Just drive faster. I'm tired. Zhou Zixuan watched my stubborn, indifferent expression, her heart feeling cold and empty, but she didn't dare say another word. Afraid that if she truly angered me, she'd lose even this last chance to ride in the car with me. The rest of the ride was silent until the car finally stopped in the underground garage of our old home. I didn't give her a chance to speak again, just pushed the door open and got out. Zhou Zixuan froze in the driver's seat, her chest feeling tight and suffocated. In the end, all she could do was let out a heavy sigh. She got out and followed behind me. We walked out of the elevator and arrived at the front door. Zhou Zixuan suddenly felt a bit nervous, her fingers trembling slightly as she used the key to open the door. "Xiao Yu," she said, stepping aside to let me in, her voice carrying a trace of imperceptible expectation and nervousness. "Welcome home." The scene inside the room left me stunned. I had clearly moved all my things out, but right now, the living room had been restored to almost exactly how it looked before I left. On the sofa sat the throw pillow I used to lean on. On the coffee table was the mug I used to use. Even in the center of the dining table, there sat a somewhat crooked cream cake, surrounded by a few plates of home-cooked dishes that didn't look very appetizing. "I prepared all of this for you," Zhou Zixuan said, looking at me. Xiao Yu's eyes were filled with anticipation, yet she looked so cautious. "Please, don't leave me, okay?" I stood in the doorway, not stepping inside right away. My gaze swept over these forced attempts at recreating the past and the clumsy surprises, but I felt no emotion at all. Just a deep sense of exhaustion and absurdity. "Put all of this away," I spoke, my voice devoid of any rise or fall. "We're here for our documents. A scene like this isn't appropriate." I walked into the room and changed into my slippers. In a flat, indifferent tone, I asked, "Where did you even get these?" "I'm certain my original things are all with my parents back home. Anything appearing here can only be a replica, Xiao Yu." Zhou Zixuan hadn't expected me to react this way. From the moment we met, every word I said, every sentence I spoke centered on the divorce. She finally realized clearly that 5 years of neglect and hurt had already caused the young Xiao Yu, who once looked at her with nothing but love, to disappear completely. What remained was just a shell that had locked its heart away from her too. She was silent for a moment. Before whispering in reply, "I found them online. Comparing them to the photos you took before, and your old shopping records. I found them one by one. It wasn't much trouble. I took a long leave from work. I had the time." Her voice grew lower and lower, thick with a heavy, tearful nasal tone. "Because only by doing this could I create an illusion for myself. The illusion that you hadn't left yet. Only then could I hold on to even a tiny bit of hope. Maybe one day you would walk through that door and come home, Xiao Yu. I don't know how to get through the days without you." This time, I was actually moved, not because I was touched, but because it was pathetic. Pity for my past self, and for her as she is now. If this had been 5 years ago, or even a year ago, seeing Zhou Zixuan do all this for me, I probably would have been overjoyed, thinking that every sacrifice I made was worth it. Thinking that, finally, the clouds had parted and I could see the light. But now, having finally broken free from this hopeless one-sided love, I was no longer willing to waste even a single second of my feelings or energy on her. I gave a soft response, my tone still flat. "If you want to keep them, then keep them. You can slowly throw them away later. After the divorce, you'll get used to it." I headed straight for the bedroom to get the household registration book and ID card needed for the divorce. I knew exactly where they were, in the little locked drawer. Zhou Zixuan stood frozen at the doorway, watching my back as I walked to the bedroom without the slightest hesitation. Her heart ached so much she couldn't breathe. She slowly realized that perhaps this was my nature all along, not the person she had seen all these years. Always accommodating, endlessly tolerant, always gentle. It turned out that over those 5 years, all my patience, all my good temper, all my tenderness and consideration were because I loved her. Because of love, I was willing to compromise, swallowing all my bad moods, hiding all my sharp edges, saving only the warmest side for her. But what about her? She was so immature, so selfish, taking it all for granted. It wasn't until it was this late, until she had lost everything, that she finally understood. That young Xiao Yu, who always had patience for her, who was always so gentle with her, was never coming back. Zhou Zixuan crouched by the doorway, tears streaming down her face. She covered her mouth desperately, trying not to sob out loud, because all of this was her own doing. Because Zhou Zixuan had restored the room to how it was. The documents weren't hard to find. I took them out of the drawer in no time. As soon as I walked out of the bedroom, I saw Zhou Zixuan collapse by the door, her shoulders trembling slightly, her eyes and nose tips all red. Clearly, she had just been crying. I frowned. What kind of trick is this now? She's already tried pleading and apologizing, and now she's starting to play the victim to gain sympathy? I walked over, my tone filled with faint suspicion. "Are you not feeling well?" If she dared to fake being sick to stall, I would turn and walk away immediately. "No." Zhou Zixuan hurriedly wiped her face with the back of her hand, forcing herself to stand up, squeezing out a smile that looked worse than crying. Let's go. Get in the car." This time, the drive was silent. Zhou Zixuan didn't say anything more, just driving in silence, her eyes fixed straight ahead. The car finally stopped at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau again. "Hurry up." I glanced at the time. They were about to get off work. The hour was indeed getting late. I was worried that if we dragged it out until they closed, it would be another day wasted. So, I simply grabbed Zhou Zixuan's hand and walked quickly toward the Civil Affairs Bureau. The warmth from her palm made Zhou Zixuan daze for a fleeting moment. Once upon a time, when she and I came to get our marriage license, we were just as rushed. Back then, I think I was afraid she would change her mind, afraid she would back out at the last second. So I held her hand tightly the whole way, walking at a fast pace. My face was full of uncontrollable excitement and joy. That expression, unknowingly, it seemed to have dispelled some of the confusion and panic she felt about marriage deep down. Zhou Zixuan realized, belatedly, that it was from that very moment I had already begun to walk into her heart, little by little. But now, the same setting, the same people, even walking fast while holding her hand, yet everything has changed beyond recognition. Zhou Zixuan's eyes dimmed. Like a puppet, she was dragged by me through the motions, taking photos, filling out forms, signing papers, and providing fingerprints. When those divorce certificates, with the big, bold words stamped on them, were finally placed in our hands, I let out an audible sigh of relief, my shoulders finally dropping from their tight, tense state. Even my face, which had been pale for so long, showed a hint of relaxed relief. Finally, I whispered to myself. I held that divorce certificate, flipping it back and forth in my hands. A faint, unconscious smile tugging at the corners of my mouth. It really is over, Xiao Yu. Zhou Zixuan looked at the glaring red certificate in my hand, then at the undisguised expression on my face. And it felt like her heart had been cruelly crushed. The pain made her struggle to even stand. But right there, amidst the heartbreak and despair, a single thought began to sprout and grow wildly in her heart like untamed weeds. Since I was so dead set on leaving our marriage, fine. The marriage could end, but just because the marriage is over, that doesn't mean the story between me and her has to end, too. We could have new identities, a fresh start. She suddenly made up her mind, as if something had finally clicked. Her gaze sharpened, focusing back on me. Xiao Yu, she called out to me just as I was about to turn and leave. Perhaps it was because we'd finally cut ties, but I was in a good mood. After the divorce, this was the first time I'd replied to her in a relatively calm tone. Zhou Zixuan took a deep breath, looked me straight in the eyes, and said each word clearly and firmly. Let's start over. What? I thought I'd misheard her and looked at her in stunned silence. Zhou Zixuan, are you out of your mind? I went through so much trouble, and it wasn't easy to finally get this divorce from you. To finally be free of this relationship, and now you turn around and tell me to start over? Looking at my look of disbelief, Zhou Zixuan actually felt more determined. And her thoughts became clearer. What I mean is, she took a step forward, her tone serious. Even though we're no longer husband and wife, we're still old classmates, right? Aren't we? Just because we're divorced. If we can't be a married couple, we can at least be friends, right? Friends? I subconsciously frowned and refused. Forget it. Looking into Zhou Zixuan's unusually bright eyes, I always felt like she was up to no good. Based on what I knew of her, this wasn't how someone acted if they'd truly let go. What kind of person gets a divorce because of cheating, yet manages to be friends with no hard feelings in the end? But I didn't expect that this time, Zhou Zixuan would have a perfect excuse to refute me. Xiao Yu, that's not fair of you. She lifted her chin slightly, her tone carrying a hint of intentional grievance. You wanted a divorce, even though I stalled for a while. In the end, didn't I cooperate and help you finish the paperwork? You can't just up and discard me like this. Have you forgotten what you said to me in the car earlier? What kind of nonsense did I say? I was getting annoyed by her crude analogy. You said. Zhou Zixuan stared deep into my eyes. She repeated every single word, as long as I agree to divorce you. Then how I want to prove myself, or who I want to prove it to, is completely up to me. You also said, as long as we divorce, you will forgive me. Did you say these things or not? Seeing the look of I have the proof on Zhou Zixuan's face, the corner of my mouth couldn't help but twitch. It's true that I said those things, but at the time, I was just trying to get rid of her pestering as soon as possible so I could finalize the divorce. I just said them to brush her off. I never imagined that she would still be holding onto those words even after we were divorced. Yes, I said them. I rubbed my temples, feeling a headache coming on. I can forgive you, but I really have things to do and need to leave now. If you want to prove something, let's talk about it next time. Next time? Zhou Zixuan immediately grabbed my wrist. With a stubborn look in her eyes, don't think about running away. How'd I know when I'll ever see you again? What if you disappear again? If I need to prove it, then it has to be right now. Her tone was firm. No way. I tried to break free from her grip, saying helplessly, who goes around trying to prove things to their ex-husband? Why don't you go prove it to Sun Saiyu instead? I'll say this one last time. Zhou Zixuan's expression turned serious, and she gripped my hand even tighter. I only ever saw him as a younger brother. I only want to prove myself to the person I care about. Call me your ex-wife, or an old classmate, but you can't deny that there's still a connection between us, right? I like you, so I want to prove my feelings to you. Is that not allowed? Xiao Yu, you gave me your word. You aren't going to go back on your promise, are you? Zhou Zixuan stared intensely into my eyes, as if she were testing my boundaries. Or perhaps gambling on how I would react. I won't go back on my word. I was left speechless by what she said, so I could only force a response. Who you choose to prove yourself to is your own business, but whether I accept it is a different matter entirely. I really have to go now. Perhaps because we were already divorced and had no legal ties left. I didn't feel as much anger or resistance toward Zhou Zixuan as I had in the car. My tone had softened a bit, and Zhou Zixuan keenly noticed this subtle shift in my attitude. A glimmer of hope flashed in her eyes. Her tone relaxed too, and she started trying to coax me. Alright, you want to leave? I won't stop you. She let go of my hand, but her body still stood in my way. But I want your contact information. This isn't too much to ask, right? Otherwise, you'll just take off and vanish again, like last time. When I finally need to find you, where am I supposed to look? Just give me a way to reach you, and I might consider letting you go. Looking at Zhou Zixuan's expression, she didn't seem to be joking, knowing her personality as I do. If I don't give her my contact info today, she'll likely keep pestering me. She won't let me leave, and I'm honestly just exhausted. I only want to get away as soon as possible, so I have no choice but to compromise. Fine, I'll give it to you. I pulled out my phone. My tone was laced with a warning, but you have to promise me. No more harassing me. If you bother me, or say any more of those weird things, I'll block and delete you again, just like that. We're only going to be old classmates, understood? Of course, no problem. Zhou Zixuan agreed with surprising speed. She whipped out her phone and stared at me, waiting eagerly. Her ready compliance actually made me feel a bit uneasy. I started to suspect she had another trick up her sleeve, but the words were already out. I had no choice but to exchange new WeChat contacts with her. Once we were connected, I immediately turned to leave. I didn't want to stay for even another second. But Zhou Zixuan followed right behind me, chattering away, setting down her own set of rules. Xiao Yu, I promise I won't bother you. But you have to promise you won't just delete me, block me, or ignore me without a word. When I talk to you, you have to reply. You can't just give me the cold shoulder. And also, wait, is this the kind of stuff you demand from an old classmate? Or is this for a couple? Back when I was chasing her, I never dared to make so many demands. Now, she's the one putting them on me. My head was spinning, so I quickly flagged down a taxi. I yanked the door open, dove inside, and gave the driver Li Feng's address. Driver, let's go. The car pulled away. As we drove off, I saw in the rearview mirror that Zhou Zixuan was still standing there, waving at me. She didn't look thrilled, exactly, but her eyes were shining intensely. Filled with confidence. After 5 years of marriage, I know her too well. She isn't interested in being old classmates at all. She's clearly just taken on a new mask so she can start chasing me all over again. If this were the past, I might have been moved to tears, thinking our struggles had finally paid off. But my heart died long ago. It won't beat for her anymore. As for her pursuing me, whatever, I'm dying anyway. Soon enough, I'll be leaving this city for good and flying far away. The divorce is final, and I've already given up my share of the assets. It won't affect her life from here on out. An ending like this is more than good enough for me. I leaned back into the taxi seat, closed my tired eyes, and headed to Li Feng's place to meet up with him. I wanted to celebrate being single again, but he just wouldn't let me live a little. He insisted on dragging me to the hospital for a checkup. Seriously, man, you don't have to. I know my own body better than anyone. No way. Li Feng was dead set on it. He said since getting a divorce is such a big happy event, maybe the change of pace might actually make me feel better. He insisted I get checked out. I had no choice but to let him drag me to the hospital. I couldn't win against him. I was worried he'd get suspicious, so I let him half drag me all the way there. To make sure I didn't ditch him halfway, Li Feng even took the day off. He swore he'd watch me until every single test was done. Honestly, you really don't need to babysit me. I sat on the bench in the hospital hallway, watching the patients come and go. I'm already at the hospital. It's not like I'm going to run away now. Li Feng gave me a look like, yeah, right, like I believe that. But suddenly, his office called. Their department's information system had a major crash. He was the only one who could fix it, and his boss was demanding he come back immediately. Li Feng held the phone, looking so torn. He looked at me, then back at his phone. He was struggling with what to do, so I took the chance to talk him into it. Look, work comes first. You should head back. I'm really not going anywhere. I'll just wait here for my checkup, and I'll call you when I'm done. Li Feng hesitated for a long time, but with my constant reassurances and his boss's non-stop frantic calling, he finally cracked. He watched me walk into Director Liu's office and close the door behind me. Only then did he leave, still looking back at me every few steps. It was just me and Director Liu in the office. I walked over and sat down in front of him. The truth is, I wasn't lying to Li Feng. Even if he hadn't forced me to come, I had planned to see Director Liu before I left anyway. If it hadn't been for Director Liu checking in on me from time to time this past month and adjusting my meds, I probably wouldn't have even made it through the divorce cooling off period. Director Liu, Xiao Yu, you're here. Director Liu seemed pleasantly surprised to see me. He looked me over carefully. You're looking a bit better than last time. I've got less on my mind now, so I'm feeling a bit more relaxed. I smiled. I'm taking the train out tonight. I'm leaving soon. I came here today, mostly to see you and thank you for taking such good care of me all this time. A follow-up checkup doesn't really mean much anymore. Compared to the agony and confusion of a month ago, I was acting completely calm now. Director Liu, however, just looked at me with eyes full of pity. I heard about you and Zixuan, he sighed. If this divorce is something that can finally make you feel relaxed and happy, then maybe it really will be good for your health. It's just that, Zixuan has been one of my most promising students over the years. I've seen all the changes she's gone through and the pain she's been in lately. I know I'm not in a position to lecture you, but the way things ended between you two. Is it really just over like this? Is there truly no hope left? Director Liu flipped through my previous medical records, chatting with me as if we were just idly talking. He rarely meddled in his students' personal lives. He just felt that Zhou Zixuan and I were a terrible loss. If he had known about the situation sooner, perhaps, though Zhou Zixuan wasn't there. I didn't feel much resistance toward the topic. My tone was calm. Who knows? Before tomorrow arrives, anything is possible. However, one thing will not change. She and I are already divorced. As for the future, whether we never cross paths again, or stay friends, it doesn't matter anymore. I honestly don't have enough time left to agonize over these things. My response let Director Liu see that my attitude wasn't as heartless as Zhou Zixuan had described. Perhaps things hadn't reached a dead end yet, but as a doctor, his primary duty was still to warn me. Xiao Yu, you shouldn't always be thinking about how much time you have left. No one can say for sure, not even me. You just need to live well and keep your mood balanced. That's the only way to help your condition. Any person or thing that upsets you, just stay away from them for now. Your condition right now is more stable than it was a month ago. That's a good sign. I thanked Director Liu sincerely, exchanged a few more pleasantries, and then stood up to leave. Director Liu got up to see me off personally. There was pity in his eyes, but even more, he was wishing me well. Go on then, travel safely, and keep in touch. He patted my shoulder and walked to the clinic door. He pulled the door open, but as he looked up, he saw Zhou Zixuan already standing there quietly, who knows since when. Her gaze passed over Director Liu's shoulder and landed straight on me. When did you get here? Director Liu was startled, clutching his chest. Oh my poor old heart. Seeing Zhou Zixuan there, my heart skipped a beat too. How did the news leak out? Wasn't she supposed to be off today? Why would she be here? It seems this place is no longer safe to stay. Director Liu, you don't need to see me out. I can find my own way. Take care of yourself. I greeted Director Liu, and prepared to leave. As I walked to the door, I brushed past Zhou Zixuan. We looked at each other in silence. This time, she didn't stop me, she just silently stepped aside. I walked quickly toward the elevator, but when I reached the hospital entrance, I looked back, only to find that Zhou Zixuan had been following a short distance behind me the whole time. Keeping a certain distance, I followed silently. Why have you been following me the whole time? I asked, finally stopping in frustration. I turned around to face her, and Zhou Zixuan quickened her pace to walk right up to me. Her face was expressionless, and her tone was completely calm. It's nothing, I just wanted to experience it. Experience what? What kind of feeling? You know. She tilted her head slightly, as if lost in memory, the feeling of having someone completely fill your heart and mind. You really can't help but follow right behind them. Even if it's just watching their back, it feels wonderful. I was stunned by what she said, and for a moment, I didn't know how to respond. Back in college, Zhou Zixuan continued walking forward. She caught up to walk side by side with me, her voice soft. I remember that every time after night study sessions ended, you would just happen to appear near our classroom and then follow me all the way. Until I reached the girls' dorm. At first, I actually thought you were some kind of perverted stalker. I almost reported you to campus security. The corners of her mouth curled up. She showed a hint of nostalgia. But later, I realized, you just wanted to see me a few more times and wanted to walk me home along the way. Zhou Zixuan and I have too many shared memories, and now, she was bringing them up one by one. There was no trace of her past coldness in her tone, instead, it carried a kind of long overdue tenderness and nostalgia. Those fragments of the past, like old film strips, flashed before my eyes frame by frame. I couldn't help but feel moved. My emotions began to ripple. Zhou Zixuan was still recounting those years. All the ways I was good to her. Like remembering when she was on her period. And I would quietly prepare brown sugar and ginger tea. Knowing her stomach was sensitive, I would go ahead and get her a light meal. Or if she happened to mention liking a certain book, it would just show up in front of her the next time we met. Those details I thought she had never paid attention to, she actually remembered them all. It's just that these shared memories, coming from her, were filled with a belated sense of appreciation and beauty. But to my ears, they had turned into a bitter history I couldn't bear to look back on. Enough. Seriously, enough. What exactly are you trying to say? Just spit it out. I cut her off. I'm leaving. Zhou Zixuan stopped walking and looked at me. Her gaze was serious. Where are you going? I'll take you. Are you going to tell me or not? If you won't, I'll just call a cab myself. I frowned, not wanting to get tangled up with her anymore. What I'm saying is, I just want to drive you. Zhou Zixuan looked at me stubbornly. Since we're old classmates and we just happened to run into each other at the hospital. Giving you a ride isn't too much to ask, is it? You promised me yesterday that you wouldn't be this resistant to me. How could you go back on your word? The next moment, she started bringing up again just how gentle I used to be. Such a woman of her word, how wonderful. Her nagging had me so annoyed, I just wanted to get away as soon as possible. I caved in helplessly. Fine, fine. I promise. Go on, get your car. Okay. Zhou Zixuan's eyes lit up. She agreed immediately. You're not allowed to sneak off. Wait for me, old classmate. After reminding me again not to run away, she finally hurried toward the parking lot. Run away? How could I possibly stay? Watching her walk away, I immediately headed for the curb. I tried to flag down a taxi, but strangely enough, the hospital entrance, usually bustling with traffic, didn't have a single empty cab today. I waited for ages, but not a taxi was in sight. Seeing Zhou Zixuan's car about to pull up, I quickly lowered my head. Walking briskly along the sidewalk, hoping to catch a ride at the next intersection. Xiao Yu, I knew you'd try to sneak off. I hadn't gone far when that familiar honking sounded beside me. I turned to see Zhou Zixuan in her car. She rolled down the window, creeping along slowly right next to me. Her face wore a look of I knew it, mixed with a tiny hint of hurt. Get in, old classmate. She pulled the car to a stop. I looked at her, and in the end, I could only sigh and pull open the door. I sat inside. Where to? She asked. I don't know. Just drive wherever, I said, sounding irritated. But Zhou Zixuan acted as if she'd just heard a sweet nothing, her eyes crinkling into crescents. Xiao Yu, do you mean, you want to spend more time with me? I was speechless. I silently turned my head to look out the window. Man, how did I never notice before? That she could be this persistent, this much of a handful? Go to Li Feng's place, I gave her an address. And immediately added, and don't say another word. Let me have some peace, or I'm getting out right now. The threat actually worked. Zhou Zixuan clamped her mouth shut. She drove quietly, but the speed was just way too slow. It was like she was intentionally dragging out the drive, wanting to stay with me a little longer. I couldn't be bothered to call her out on it, nor did I care. Either way, we'd reach the destination eventually, just like my marriage to her. No matter how much she clung or dragged it out, there would eventually come a day when we'd go our separate ways. I don't know how much time had passed while I rested my eyes in the car. I was drifting in and out of sleep. In the silence, Zhou Zixuan suddenly spoke up, her voice low, yet unusually clear and serious. Xiao Yu, about your illness, Director Liu and I have been discussing it over and over lately. We both agree that your situation isn't as bad as you imagine it to be. Don't be so absolute with your current condition. If you can cooperate with the treatment and adjust your mindset, it's not impossible to control the illness, extend your life expectancy, or even see a turn for the better. Zhou Zixuan's tone was serious and earnest in a way I'd never heard before. Lately, my illness had practically become her obsession. She would pore over medical journals and research case studies day and night, discussing plans with Dr. Liu. The thing medical professionals fear most is the helplessness of facing a serious illness in someone they love the most. Zhou Zixuan didn't want to go through such an ordeal. She hadn't realized it before. But now that she did, she absolutely couldn't accept me giving up like this. How could she let go of my life? She still wanted to spend the rest of her days with me. So, this was the real reason Zhou Zixuan insisted on sending me here, but I had never thought I could actually survive. From the moment I found out I had a terminal illness, everything I did was about saying my goodbyes, cutting off my social ties, handling my final affairs, and arranging for my parents' care. There's no need, I said, looking out the window. My voice calm. The time I have left should be enough to visit a few places I've always wanted to see. It's not enough. It's nowhere near enough. Hearing that I was still refusing treatment, Zhou Zixuan panicked, her voice rising. China is so vast, and there are so many places you want to go. You need a very, very long time to travel and explore them all. 3 years to see the country. Then there's the rest of the world, and so much more to see. I'll be by your side, Xiao Yu. I can't lose you either. You can't be this irresponsible. Her words were desperate, mixed with a near-pleading sob. I understood what she meant, but my heart was like a well that had been dry for too long. It couldn't stir any ripples anymore. We're already divorced, I said, turning my head to look at her red, watery eyes, my tone remaining flat. I have no obligation to be responsible for you. That doesn't matter. You have to get treatment. Zhou Zixuan practically screamed, then immediately realized she had been too harsh and hurriedly softened her voice. Speaking through tears, even if there's no obligation as a spouse, there's still the obligation as an old classmate, as a friend. What obligation does an old classmate have? I countered. The obligation to live on well. Zhou Zixuan grabbed my arm, her fingers trembling slightly. Xiao Yu, I don't care, even if you never want to get back together with me in this lifetime. Or if you never want to speak to me again, I still need you to live on, well and alive. Please, I'm begging you, promise me you'll accept the treatment, okay? Just trust me, I can help you. Director Liu also said there's still a chance, that it's not the end of the road yet. Please, I'm begging you, she said, getting more and more worked up. Her voice choked with emotion, and tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. I hadn't expected such a strong reaction from her. Perhaps it was just a doctor's instinct. They just can't stand to see a patient give up, I thought, so I didn't take it too much to heart. Just then, the car pulled up to the entrance of Li Feng's apartment complex. I'm here. I opened the car door, ready to get out. Xiao Yu, Zhou Zixuan called out from behind me. Her voice was hoarse and broken. I'm sorry. I was too emotional just now. I shouldn't have pressured you. But you really still have a chance. Please, think about it some more, okay? And also, she wiped away her tears, as if suddenly remembering something. Sun Sayu, he wants to add you on social media. He wants to talk to you. Would you be willing? Hearing the tentative tone in Zhou Zixuan's voice and seeing her red-rimmed eyes. How could I not understand the feeling she was holding inside right now, that sense of desperate, humble hope? For the past 5 years, that had been my exact state of mind. Maybe it's true what they say, that a person's words are kindest when they are near death. Maybe, having finally let everything go, my heart just couldn't stay cold anymore. Or maybe it was because I felt that Sun Sayu, as a person, hadn't really done anything wrong. I was silent for a few seconds. Eventually, I gave a slight nod. Okay, back at Li Feng's place, he hadn't returned yet. I had just set my things down when my phone buzzed. It was a new friend request from Sun Sayu. The request note read, Brother Xiao Yu, I'm Sun Sayu. There are some things I'd like to talk to you about. Are you available to chat? Seeing that name again, my feelings were incredibly complicated. I really didn't dislike Sun Sayu. In fact, I felt we were somewhat in the same boat, but I didn't know what he wanted to say to me now. With an indescribable feeling, I clicked accept. As soon as the request was accepted, Sun Sayu's message popped up immediately. Just as direct as ever, Brother Xiao Yu, do you have time this afternoon? I'd like to meet with you and talk for a bit. He was always so straight to the point. My finger hovered over the screen, not knowing how to reply. My emotions regarding Sun Sayu had always been complex. In front of him, I was a total loser. In Zhou Zixuan's heart, I had never won against him even once. Once, I had even been jealous of him, and at times, I even secretly hated him. I hated that he didn't have to do anything at all to easily occupy every inch of Zhou Zixuan's heart. But after he opened up to me during our last meeting, I realized he wasn't the scheming person I had imagined him to be. Quite the opposite. I actually think we get along pretty well. All the conflict and tension between us, it all stems from Zhou Zixuan. He is Zhou Zixuan's childhood sweetheart, the white moonlight hidden deep in her heart. And I am merely Zhou Zixuan's husband on paper, a pathetic guy who could never walk into her heart. Now that I've divorced Zhou Zixuan, logically, I should completely cut all ties with Sun Sayu. And stop having any connection to anyone in her life, but for some reason, deep down, I actually find myself wanting to go see Sun Sayu. I want to know what on earth he wants to tell me. As it happens, my train is in the evening. I do have some free time this afternoon. After thinking for a few seconds, I reply, okay, you pick the time and place. Sun Sayu quickly sent over a location for a restaurant and a meeting time. In the afternoon, I arrived as promised at the restaurant Sun Sayu booked. It was an elegant private dining spot. It wasn't crowded, it was very quiet. Sun Sayu had already arrived, sitting at a table by the window. When he saw me, he stood up immediately, a look of apology on his face. Brother Xiao Yu, over here. After not seeing him for a while, Sun Sayu looked like he had changed a bit. The high-spirited look he had last time was gone, replaced by a more steady demeanor. We took our seats. After ordering, the atmosphere became a bit awkward for a moment. After all, we aren't really close, and we have very little in common to talk about. It was Sun Sayu who broke the silence. He held his glass of water with both hands. His knuckles slightly tense, his expression very serious. There was even a hint of solemnity in his voice. Brother Xiaoyu, I didn't have any other intentions in asking you out this time. I just wanted to apologize to you in person. An apology. I was a bit surprised. Apologize for what? Sun Saiyu lowered his head, his voice low and heavy. For the stupid things I did before. When I was completely unaware. I really didn't know that you and Sister Zixuan were married. If I had known, I absolutely would never have said those things in front of you. About my past with her, and I certainly wouldn't have asked that damn question. He looked up, his eyes filled with sincere regret. I know that my existence and the things I said must have hurt you. It might have even been one of the reasons that forced you to leave. I am truly, deeply sorry. So, that's what this was about. The guard I had up in my heart suddenly melted away. I even felt a sense of relief. There was nothing that couldn't be said. I didn't take it to heart, and you don't need to blame yourself so much. My tone was calm. My leaving did have something to do with you, but to say I was forced away would be a huge exaggeration. Bringing up the past again. The jealousy and hatred I felt back then had long since faded, leaving only the calm and detachment of someone who has seen through the transience of life. The reason I left, it's mostly because of the issues between Zhou Zixuan and me. My feelings for her have simply run dry. I can't wait anymore either. This is between her and me. It has nothing to do with you. Facing my candor, the guilt in Sun Saiyu's eyes only deepened. But Sister Zixuan only did those things that hurt you because of me. No matter what, I can't escape my share of the blame for your divorce. I'm a sinner, Brother Xiaoyu. He looked at me, his eyes full of sincerity. To tell you the truth, after we talked last time, I really started to see you as a true friend. Even if this realization might be too late, I still hope you can give Sister Zixuan another chance. Can you two get back together? Sun Saiyu's words took me completely by surprise. I had imagined many people might try to persuade me to reconcile with Zhou Zixuan, my parents, friends, or even Director Liu. But the one person I never expected to urge me was Sun Saiyu. Logically speaking, now that I'm divorced from Zhou Zixuan, he should be the one with the best chance. But right now, I honestly can't figure out what he's thinking. I couldn't help but ask. I just don't get it. Didn't you express that you liked Zhou Zixuan the other day? Now that she's single again, why aren't you pursuing her instead of trying to talk me into it? That wasn't love. Sun Saiyu didn't even hesitate, he shook his head immediately to deny it. There was no trace of resentment in his eyes, only a sense of clarity and honesty. Brother Xiaoyu, I told you before, Sister Zixuan and I grew up together. In my heart, I've always truly seen her as an older sister. As my best friend, that has never changed in all these years. Even after my own divorce, during my most vulnerable moments. When she was by my side, I never developed that kind of romantic feeling for her. As for why he asked me that question that day, he gave a bitter smile. Maybe it's because when I had just gotten divorced, and was at my lowest point, it was Sister Zixuan who stood by me without hesitation, comforting me and giving me the support and warmth I needed most at that time. I mistook that reliance and gratitude for romantic interest. It wasn't until those few days after you left and I couldn't reach Sister Zixuan that I went to her place and saw how haggard and broken she looked. Crying and telling me she had lost you, that was the moment I realized the truth. I realized how much damage I had unintentionally caused to your marriage. Sun Saiyu took a deep breath, his tone heavy. Brother Xiaoyu, actually, I never told you this, my ex-wife's heart has always been occupied by another man too. We share a nearly identical experience. That's why I just couldn't accept that I had ended up being an accomplice in destroying someone else's marriage. I don't want to be a sinner. And I certainly can't live with that on my conscience. That's why, that day, I've finally had a heart-to-heart with Zixuan, and we've cleared the air about our relationship. It was that conversation that truly helped me see my own heart clearly. What I felt for Zixuan was never romantic love. It was just a sense of trust and closeness, like between friends, and the same goes for her. She had moved on a long time ago, so for Zixuan and me, just like you and me, we will always be great friends. There will never be anything else. Sun Saiyu looked at me, his eyes clear and sincere. Brother Xiaoyu, you have to believe that the person in Zixuan's heart has been you all along, it's just that she realized it too late. Sun Saiyu's words fell like stones into a calm lake, stirring up complex ripples deep within me. So, behind the story I knew, there was a completely different perspective. But no matter how sincere he was, even if Zhou Zixuan really only felt brotherly affection for him, it wouldn't change my firm decision to divorce. There's no absolute right or wrong in relationships, but the coldness and suffering involved can only be felt by those going through it. Even if Zhou Zixuan truly had no romantic feelings for Sun Saiyu. What about her feelings for me? During those 5 years, did she ever give me even the slightest response of love? If she had loved me even a little bit, How could I have felt absolutely nothing? So, facing Sun Sayu's sincere and hopeful gaze, I could only stay silent. After a long while, I slowly began to speak. Sayu, I understand how you feel, but I can't agree to your request. Zhou Zixuan and I were married for 5 years. I fell for her the moment I saw her, and I was once completely devoted to her. I thought she was the one, but you have to understand. I looked into his eyes, my tone calm and desolate. If it were just because of your presence, it could never have completely worn away my feelings for her, and driven me to despair to the point of giving up on life. It was those 1,825 days and nights. Those seemingly trivial moments of neglect and indifference, those broken promises she made so easily. And all those times she cast me aside without a second thought for your sake. These ordinary, small things, these seemingly unintentional actions, accumulated over a long time, finally becoming the boulder that crushed our relationship. That's why I say it's not just because of you, because even without you, the problems in our marriage wouldn't have disappeared. Someday, there would have been another spark to set it off. The end for Zhou Zixuan and me was inevitable. Sun Sayu treated me with sincerity, so I returned the favor with my own. These were all words from the bottom of my heart. At this moment, Sun Sayu fell silent. He stopped trying to persuade me. A flicker of complex emotions crossed his eyes. Sayu, you and I are different. You should know about my illness. I don't have much time left, so I want to spend my final days living completely according to my own heart, without a shred of compromise or force. But you still have a long life ahead of you. Whether it's your childhood past, or this just ended marriage, these are merely temporary storms and clouds on your life's path. The road ahead of you is still paved with sunshine, so it's never too late for you. There is no need for guilt, and no need to blame yourself. You just need to keep moving forward, and you will embrace the beautiful future that belongs to you. I paused for a moment, my tone gentle yet firm. Just consider it an embrace on my behalf. There is no need to dwell on the past anymore. I gently patted Sun Sayu on the shoulder. In that moment, he seemed to grasp the deeper meaning behind my words. For the second half of the meal, we had a tacit understanding not to bring up topics of romance or marriage again, but rather, like two old friends who cherish each other. We chatted about other things, about life, about the future, and about some trivial, amusing stories. When the meal ended, we stood up to say goodbye. Brother Xiaoyu, take care. Sun Sayu looked at me with sincere eyes. Wherever you go, I hope you stay safe and sound. You too, look ahead. I smiled at him, turned, and walked away. Sun Sayu stood where he was, watching my retreating figure. He didn't move for a long time. There was no expression on his face. Yet his eyes looked as if he had realized something, or as if he had finally set down a heavy burden. He bent down and, from a highly concealed corner beneath the dining table, removed a miniature voice recorder. Sun Sayu knew that Zhou Zixuan had been listening the whole time, but the long silence at this moment made the atmosphere feel somewhat stifling. Sister Zixuan, Sun Sayu spoke softly into that tiny microphone. Are you okay? On the other end, there was a long silence. After quite a while, Zhou Zixuan's hoarse, choked voice came through. I'm fine. Thank you, Sayu. Really, thank you. If it weren't for you, I might never have had the chance in this lifetime to hear what is truly in Xiaoyu's heart. Sun Sayu sighed softly. It's nothing. You helped me walk out of so much darkness. This is what I should do. But Brother Xiaoyu's attitude is more resolute than we imagined. Sister Zixuan, do you think you still have a chance? Regarding this question, Zhou Zixuan dared not make any promises. Her mood at this moment was extremely complex, like a mix of every bitter and sweet emotion spilled all at once. Before this, she had stubbornly assumed that my departure was because I would always hold a grudge over her and Sun Sayu's past. But it wasn't until now, hearing those words of mine firsthand, that she finally realized the truth. Perhaps she had never truly understood this man. The hurt she caused him was far, far deeper and heavier than she had imagined. But was everything really beyond repair? Zhou Zixuan was unwilling to give up. After a long, long silence, so long that Sun Sayu thought she wouldn't answer, Zhou Zixuan finally spoke slowly, her voice very soft, yet exceptionally firm. Can it be saved? I'm not sure about the rest, but I know my heart clearly. I love him, and I hope that for the rest of his life there will be no pain, no illness. I hope he lives in peace and joy. If one day there is really no place for me in his future, that's okay too. At least he'll be healthy. He'll be happy, and at least I tried my best. I won't have any regrets. Zhou Zixuan spoke that last sentence with unusual calm, yet it carried a sense of burning the bridges determination. Sun Sayu was moved. A relieved smile unconsciously appeared on his face. Sister Zixuan, go on, be brave. I will always support you. This is what Brother Xiaoyu would say, too. Whatever the storms, whatever the failures, they are just temporary interludes in life. As long as you keep moving forward, They will eventually pass. The only thing we have to do is to have no regrets. Sun Saiyu's words were firm and powerful. On the other end, Zhou Zixuan gave a heavy and then hung up the phone. It was almost time. She had to go see the one who held her heart. On the other side, I had already said goodbye to Li Feng and arrived at the airport, ready to officially embark on my planned journey around the world. Perhaps I will die somewhere along the way, or perhaps I'll be able to make it through a few of my planned destinations and then return to my parents. But I have no obsession with returning to my roots. I just hope that in my final days, I can see as many different sides of this world as possible, and then let fate take its course. Wherever I stop, that is where I belong. I checked in, went through security, and arrived at the boarding area. Perhaps because my mood was relatively calm, my body hadn't shown any particular discomfort yet. Other passengers were still boarding. I sat by the window, turned my head, and looked out at the vast tarmac. Looking further out toward the blue sky, I have always believed that in the distance, there must be scenery I am looking forward to seeing, and a life I have never experienced. With this broken body and the little time I have left, I will bravely dash forward. Just then, my phone vibrated. It was a message from Li Feng, with a photo attached. Hey man, tell me if my eyes are playing tricks on me. This person from behind, why does she look so much like your ex-wife? She's at the airport. Seeing the words ex-wife, my heart skipped a beat. I opened the photo. Even though it was just a fleeting figure from behind, I knew Zhou Zixuan so well that I recognized her almost instantly. The photo was clearly taken at the airport, and judging by the lighting and angle, it was just a short while ago, right after Li Feng had finished seeing me off. A sinister premonition suddenly surged into my heart. Is this woman going to haunt me and follow me again? When did you take this? Reply to me right now. Just now, right after I dropped you off. I was picking up my car in the parking lot and just happened to see her. I thought it looked like her, so I snapped the photo. Doesn't that mean she might be on the same flight as me? I stood up immediately and scanned the entire departure lounge. There weren't many passengers left near the gate. Most were already in line to board. If Zhou Zixuan is on my flight, she must have already boarded. Or maybe she's in line. I didn't see her anywhere. It's probably just a coincidence, or maybe she's just catching a different flight. I let out a slight sigh of relief. I sat back down, but just as I was closing my eyes to rest and waiting for the final boarding call, I heard the hurried clicking of high heels. It came closer and closer, then stopped right by the seat next to me. Then, a familiar, faint fragrance drifted over, and a voice full of feigned surprise said, "Oh, what a coincidence, old classmate." My body stiffened, and I reluctantly opened my eyes. Sure enough, there was Zhou Zixuan, her face flushed, hovering right over the seat next to me. She looked like she had rushed here. Her hair was a bit messy, but her eyes were filled with unconcealable joy and a kind of finally caught you playfulness. In such a rush? Still a coincidence? Who were you trying to fool? If I hadn't seen that photo from Li Feng, I might have believed her a little. But now, I remember you have a very strong sense of time. You hate rushing more than anything. I looked at her, and calmly pointed out the flaw in her story. Zhou Zixuan blinked, her smile deepening with a touch of cheekiness. You pay so much attention to me, huh? Do you still have feelings for me? In that case, should I consider asking you to remarry me? That one sentence left me completely speechless again. The plane began to taxi and take off. I would be cut off from everything on the ground for a few hours. The good news is, for the next few hours, no one can bother me. The bad news is, the person most capable of bothering me is sitting right next to me, and it looks like she has absolutely no intention of letting me off the hook. Unexpectedly, this trip wasn't as unbearable as I had imagined. Zhou Zixuan was much quieter than I thought. She didn't nag about remarriage or treatment, nor did she cry and apologize. Most of the time, she just quietly watched the sea of clouds outside the window or rested with her eyes closed. Or she would steal glances at me. Occasionally, she would hand me a bottle of water, or a thin blanket, with movements so natural it felt as if we really were just old classmates traveling together. Gradually, I wasn't as repulsed by being with her as I was at the start. At least, having someone there. The journey hasn't been too lonely, but I still can't wrap my head around one thing. Just how exactly does she manage to track my every move so precisely? A coincidence like this, once or twice, is just luck. But 3 or 4 times? That's definitely by design. Zhou Zixuan is like a piece of gum stuck to my shoe. She's been clinging to me for nearly a week. No matter how spur of the moment my detours are, shortly after I arrive, she shows up right in front of me and hits me with that "what a coincidence, old classmate" act. I'm left speechless. These little tricks. Back when I was chasing her, I used them for over a decade. I had mastered them to perfection, and now that she's using them on me, I guess karma really does come around. Even though she's keeping her word, never mentioning getting back together and just acting like an old classmate. Seeing that familiar face hovering around every day gives me the illusion that we're still married. This feeling is awful, and honestly, I reached my breaking point first. In the courtyard of an old town inn, I cornered Zhou Zixuan just as she was about to accidentally run into me. I got straight to the point. Zhou Zixuan, be honest with me, what exactly are you using? To find me every single time? Zhou Zixuan blinked, looking innocent. It's simple. The method is, she held up her finger and pointed to the sky. What does that mean? I frowned. It means it's written in the stars. Fate, you know? She tilted her head, smiling like a cunning fox. I was at a loss for words. After a few seconds of silence, I muttered, superstitious nonsense. Can't you just go back to your own life? Don't you have a job? I quit, Zhou Zixuan answered, crisp and clear. She looked at me with earnest eyes. Work isn't important. My whole world is right here in front of me. This is the life I want. What could I do? If it's fated, no one can change it. Zhou Zixuan's attitude gave me a headache. I finally couldn't hold back anymore and proposed a condition. I don't believe in any fated nonsense. I just want to spend my final days here in peace. If it's really meant to be, I looked at her. Then how about we make a bet? Zhou Zixuan's eyes lit up. She leaned in immediately. Bet on what? I took a deep breath and laid out the plan I'd been thinking about. You say it's fate that you can always find me, right? Fine. This time, neither of us takes a phone. Just a subway pass and a little pocket change. We stay in this city. By the time the last train pulls into the station tonight, if we happen to bump into each other in any carriage on any train, then I'll believe you. I'll believe in this damn fate. Zhou Zixuan raised an eyebrow. And the stakes? The stakes are, I looked at her, no matter who wins. We both have to agree to one request from the other unconditionally, and there's no going back on our word. We need to fully commit and cooperate. I'm serious. Zhou Zixuan's face instantly lit up with a radiant, uncontrollable smile. You're not allowed to back out. Of course I won't. Then I've already won, Zhou Zixuan said immediately. With an incredibly serious look in her eyes, she said, my request is, you come back with me and properly commit to your treatment. You have to stay positive and absolutely do not give up. I felt a slight sigh of relief, realizing she wasn't asking me to get back together. I nodded and said, all right. Now for my request. That doesn't matter. Zhou Zixuan interrupted me, full of confidence. Her eyes were shining like stars, because I'm going to win for sure. I really don't know where she gets this confidence from. In a completely unfamiliar city, with over a dozen subway lines and hundreds of stations, a massive city filled with countless commuters crossing paths, and without any way to communicate. With no way to set a time or place, relying purely on running into each other. The odds are lower than winning the lottery jackpot. 5 minutes later, Zhou Zixuan and I met in the hotel lobby, checking each other over. We confirmed that the only things we had were a subway card and some loose change, no phones or other electronic devices. The bet officially began. We went downstairs together, walked into the nearest subway station, and right before the turnstiles. We looked at each other. Well then, Zhou Zixuan smiled at me, good luck. You too, old classmate. We turned around and headed toward the turnstiles going in opposite directions. We swiped our cards to enter and stepped onto our respective escalators. Merging into the crowds heading different ways, our figures vanished from each other's sight as the subway doors closed. At that moment, I felt completely relieved. Destiny, my foot. If there really is a God, why did he give me an incurable illness? Why did he make me spend 5 years just to end up with a heart as cold as ash? I don't believe in fate, I only believe in myself. Just as I planned, I rode the subway for one stop and got off at the nearest exit. Then walked all the way back to the hotel as fast as I could. I had already packed my bags. I returned to my room, grabbed my suitcase, and checked out. It was all done in one fluid motion, in the same subway network. There are millions of ways for two different people to cross paths. Maybe they really would meet someday, but Zhou Zixuan and I are no longer on the same path. This bet was a pipe dream destined to fail from the very start. I pulled my luggage out of the elevator and went to the front desk to check out. The receptionist smiled as she processed it, then suddenly, as if remembering something, she looked up and said, Mr. Yang from room 1206, right? Check out, please, right away. Please, one moment. Your wife has already booked our hotel's private airport transfer for you. The driver is waiting outside. Or, if you'd prefer, you can go ahead and get in the car to rest. Those words from the receptionist made my mind go completely blank. I instinctively repeated, my wife? Yes. Mrs. Yang is waiting for you in the car, the receptionist said with a smile, pointing toward a black business sedan parked right at the hotel entrance. I was stunned. That uneasy feeling in my gut instantly spiked to the breaking point. I grabbed my luggage, walked quickly out of the hotel, and headed straight for the car. I yanked the back door open. Sure enough, Zhou Zixuan was sitting upright in the backseat, wearing a knowing smile, a look that said, I knew it. She was watching me quietly. You cheated. I stared at her, dumbfounded, barely able to form a complete sentence. Zhou Zixuan just smiled without a word. After a long moment, she spoke softly, avoiding my question, Xiao Yu. I knew you'd try to sneak away. I was at a loss for words. Finally, I managed to say, you definitely cheated. Otherwise, how would you know I came back to the hotel? How would you know I'd check out and leave right away? Zhou Zixuan didn't give me a direct answer. She just pulled a subway card from her bag. The card was brand new, clearly, it had never been used. She handed it to me, her gaze earnest and gentle. If I could cheat, I would use any means necessary to make sure you stay safe, healthy, and live a long, long life.